The Falls Count Everywhere podcast would like to mention our friends at the following. We Talk Wrestling, for the one stop you need for the most intriguing stories and headlines and info on independent shows in multiple regions. We Talk Wrestling has you covered. Subscribe to Facebook's #1 interactive community for professional wrestling today. Join Shaft and General Vader every Thursday at 5 p.m. Central live on Facebook for Outside the Ring STL Throwdown Thursdays, as they bring you the inside scoop on wrestling in the St. Louis area today and relive great moments in St. Louis professional wrestling history. Before each and every show, we like to remind our audience that freedom is never free, and all of us should be grateful to those who lay it all on the line. To all our first responders, military, and volunteers that help our nation every day, we love you and appreciate the sacrifices you make to protect all of us. We're coming at you live with episode number 95 of the Falls Count Everywhere podcast with a special double feature as we welcome back the legendary promoter out of the Midwest, now celebrating 50 years in the business, Mr. Herb Simmons, and the widow of the legendary Bruiser Brody, Barbara Goodish. This podcast is scheduled for one episode where Falls Count Everywhere. Good evening, one and all. It is your favorite time of the week. It is Sunday night, everybody. All right, yes, it is the Falls Count Everywhere podcast, and we're here for you with episode number 95, and we're glad to see everybody coming in here to the chat room, and it's got a lot going on, and hopefully for those who celebrated St. Patrick's Day, you're finally sobered up. I'm just saying.
Dear Lord.
I'm sure there's probably a few, but I'm just too busy for that. I am Rough Cut Rick Ruby here on the left, and to the right, of course, is the one and only Gem City Mouse Zmiz. Z, what? Did you change shirts since Friday, or because you're still wearing the green, my friend?
I am still wearing the green, rocking the turtles.
Rocking out the turtles tonight. Oh my gosh. Oh, I know. I'm. You know what? It's a mystery here because I have not found my Falls Count Everywhere t-shirt. My last appearance somehow is, you know how socks get lost in the dryer? Well,
It happens.
I sucked up my entire freaking shirt. So I have no idea.
It happens. I can't find my We Talk Wrestling one, so join the club.
I know what the We Talk Wrestling one is. I just forgot to do it, you know. So everybody go to chat.restream.io/FB if you want to make sure that your name and your photo is shown when you're making a comment. Please make sure you visit and click on that link, everybody, because we would love to see your faces. We love to see your names. We want to say, we're, Facebook users like, howdy, partner.
Howdy.
We're calling everybody partner here.
We still love you, though.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in.
We always love you. We always love you, man. Oh, my goodness. I am still trying to get things geared up here. I had a lot to start, so but hey, here we go. Oh, yeah, there we go. Bill, what's up, buddy? Thanks for tuning in. Everybody else is tuning in here. Make sure you interact here with the chat. It still says, I don't know. It may say Facebook user on my side, but they may be going through my link and I can't see them. But anyway, and they don't get that. They don't get that trigger, but that's okay because we're still going to make sure that you interact and chat with all of us. And we've, like I said, we've got a lot coming up here within the show. Herb Simmons and Barbara Goodish for this episode, Z. So we have got a lot packed in. Trying to narrow down what we wanted to ask these two, but we've got a great session lined up So I'm stoked. I don't know about you, man. I'm
I'm pumped. Big Show's pumped. I mean, yeah, I
oh, Big
changed it
Show's
out.
on there.
Yeah, I changed it out. I know. Let's see.
Oh, you told me you were gonna put somebody else on.
Dude, my
You
wife
almost did.
corrected me. Friday night, we decided to go out for Chinese and treat the kids and stuff because been hectic, right? So
Right.
we go to Walmart. Actually, we go to GameStop. I get me a Trent AEW figure, but we go to Walmart and there's an Omos. There's one left, and I almost bought an Omos just so I could put Omos right there. But my wife talked me out of it. She's like, "You don't need that."
He's like, yeah, let's not do that. Right. Uh, well, good for her because I don't know. I'm just not sold on Omos yet. I'm just not. But maybe in due time.
I'm not either, but I want to see him succeed. So there's a difference.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, if you start getting more offensive moves than Kevin Nash, then you've got my impressiveness.
Ooh,
As,
ooh.
I'm just saying, you know,
I mean,
Sid was a big one.
I'm not a
So,
Nash fan, so
yeah. Well,
great on the mic though. Stick
get
work.
on the mic. Hey, let's kind of talk about here real quick. Just a couple quick things. Recently, this past Friday, one of our recent guests within the past few months, or featured guest, has announced his in-ring retirement. Talking about Ricky Reyes on his official Facebook and I think Instagram page. So, 24 years in the business, decided to give it up. I guess mainly to focus more on family. So,
I can respect it. I'm all for it. I'm glad I got to see his art form and his craft, and also have the time to sit down and speak with him and have him here on the show. Like, dude's a good guy, and I'm glad I can show those archives of his awesome matches to my kids while he enjoys his kids now.
right, exactly, and then another thing, and we called it out here last week when we were talking about the WWE Hall of Fame. Guess what? Great Muta officially gets the nod of going into the
Yes,
WWE Hall of Fame. I mean,
that
we called
pumps
her
me.
here. We knew it was going to happen,
That
right?
pumps me. Everybody's like, no, Zach, don't post that on We Talk Wrestling. No, Zmiz knew what he was doing, guys. Like, I knew it. Great Muta deserved to be there.
Right, right. Great Muta deserved to be there, and I mean, and who knows who's going to be coming down the pike as well, as far as who else we're going to have. So, but I'm excited. Will Batista make it? We don't know who else. You know who's also rumored though. I've heard
What?
on the women's side, Stacy Keibler possibly going into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Totally okay with that. Stacy Keibler is a. I said this on We Talk Wrestling. We were talking about what's her name, the new valet for masculine male model, or Maxine. Okay, Maxine.
Yeah, Maxine Dupree. Right.
She could be this era Stacy Keibler in a heartbeat. I absolutely enjoy her. Like, now that I've seen that whole group and them like going after Otis, which Otis is money, if you ask me. I get it, I think, and I enjoy it. So Stacy Keibler, she was one of my favorites. Her and the Dudley Boys were awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Uh, I got an alert saying that my microphone was not connected. I'm like, I've been talking. Wait,
And
Rick is starting to give me the Ubi and I'm starting to shake it.
now you're frozen on screen, buddy, too.
Am I really?
Yeah. We're just
Right. Okay. There we go. I don't know. Well,
that's right. Look, Jim City's looks
yeah,
like I hacked it.
yeah. I know. I got to change my avatar. Can I do that live?
Yeah, you
Let's see if I
can.
can do that live here real quick. I bet I can.
Yeah.
There, look at that. See, I can do that live. And you know while we do that, heck, why not? Why don't we relive a couple weeks ago and let's have let's say the sing the Edge of Allegiance here. Huh? How about that? What about that?
You're my hero for this one. You're my hero for that.
So,
Best intro so far.
I don't know. It's the oh my gosh, I would hate to do this, but I almost would hate to do without the camera.
We
Ah,
need our Lord and Savior Brock Lesnar. Oh, look at that! It's so true. You're back. Oh no, you're
no,
not. It's
I am
just
not.
picture.
I am
It's
not
just
back.
picture. Dang it! I got excited.
Yeah, I know. You got excited. I don't know. The thing is, I'm gonna have to find out exactly where my camera's plugged in at, and see if I can plug it into a different port, and and come back with that. Or I know what I could do. Let's see what I can do to mess with this. And oh, really just turn myself off. Hey, it's a good thing I've got this here. We're gonna take a break. Stay with us here. We've got some upcoming shows here for you. That's going to be condensed down here to 2 minutes. Take a listen, and we'll be right back here with you. These great wrestling shows and appearances coming to a town near you. This Saturday, March 25th, wrestling at the Ironite Shriners Temple in East St. Louis, scheduled to appear are WWE Hall of Famers Mr. USA Tony Atlas and the Ace Cowboy Bob Orton. Tickets start at just $20. Visit sicw.org for more information on ticket availability. Also this Saturday, March 25th, IWA Productions presents the Mount Vernon Rumble at 521 Perkins Street in Mount Vernon, Illinois. Front row advance at $10 a ticket, $12 at the door. General admission is $5 in advance, $7 at the door. Doors open at 6, bell time is at 7. Check out IWA Productions on Facebook. Tri-States Wrestling presents a 2-day tournament to crown their first ever heavyweight champion on Saturday, April 1st, Sunday, April 2nd at the Bethany Community Gym in Bethany, Missouri. Visit tristates.wrestling for more information on their tickets. Saturday, April 8th, SICW presents. Saturday, April 8th, SICW returns back to the Beauclair Fairgrounds with a big tag team main event as Attila Khan teams with Sheik Prater to go against the Big Texan and Gary Jackson. Reserve your seats by calling 618-286-4848 or visit sicw.org for more information. Saturday, April 15th, New Genesis Wrestling comes to Muscuda, Illinois at the Lou Civic Center as they present Right to Fight as NGW Heavyweight Champion Marcellus Knight defends his title against Kato. For more information on tickets, visit NewGenesisWrestling.com. Saturday, April 22nd, IEW presents Aftermath with a big main attraction match pitting War versus PT Beckham. Tickets in advance at $12, $15 at the door. Kids 6 to 16 are $5, and 5 and under are free. Make sure you visit IllinoisEliteWrestling.ticketleak.com for more information. Remember, fans, you're the reason why we're here. Go support your local wrestling show today. Hey, did that work?
Beautiful recovery, brother. Beautiful. Brush it off. God dang.
Yeah, well, go find yourself a good, sturdy piece of oak and knock on it, because I'm not knocking on anything here. I got a story to tell real quick. I know our guests are waiting in the wings here, and then we're going to bring them on here. But I was out earlier today, and I know you have a thing with numbers, right? So I was out just on the Illinois side today, and I did stop at a Casey's.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah, because
you got some angel numbers, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you did.
I retort with that. So I grab a mega slice of fountain beverage and a couple cookies, right? So the cashier rings it up wrong. She charged me too much. I'm like, I got one slice, not two. So she takes one off. But then she had one cookie charged. I'm like, well, I need that cookie back, because I'm not going to take away, two cookies for not paying for one, right? Total with tax, with the promo discount, the total was $666. I'm like, oh no, let's do that.
Maybe you
I was like, man, I am doomed. I don't know what I'm going to do.
I see fours, fives.
Okay,
ones and twos.
I was like, you know what? I was like, I should have just told them that I'll charge more. Don't give me the promo. Oh my gosh. But you know what? That's it. It's only just numbers. I told him, hey, if I was making sacrifices other than, yeah, a lot of sacrifices, then, I would definitely be having issues. So, let's see. I don't know. Did you happen to get the chant of everybody else that was here tonight? Like Mr. Danny Ice is here.
Well, see, I didn't want
Uh,
to throw that up while we were doing the shows. I thought that might have been Reed.
oh, okay. I'm sorry. Well, then I'm
No,
sorry.
not this show. No, it's good to see you, Danny.
It's
I meant like when
I
you're
said, put them
doing
away.
when you're doing the reel, man, of the show reel, which I loved. I loved the show reel. That was good. That was really nice.
Right.
Hi, Facebook user.
Hi, Facebook user. Remember, chat.restream.io/FB, everybody, to get started. So, everybody, we are going to bring on our guest here tonight. First off, of course, our first guest has been on the show a couple times, maybe 3 times before, but but has some big things going on here. 2023 is going to be a huge year for this man, as he is now officially celebrated 50 years in the wrestling business, everybody. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the one and the only Mr. Herb Simmons.
We are not worthy. We are not worthy.
Herb, how you doing, sir?
Fine, thank you, guys. You believe me, you guys are more than worthy. Believe me, yeah, it's great to be back on the show again. And as I say all the time, you guys are what's keeping the memories alive of the past, present, and hopefully the future of what we all love, and that's professional wrestling.
I love the sound of that.
Exactly. But like I said, you're just one half of our feature here tonight. We also want to bring on the other half of our feature, ladies and gentlemen. We give you the lovely lady who has done a lot with the wrestling industry, even for the past several years, and she's graced us with her presence here tonight. Will be at the big FanFest and induction ceremony, and of course at the Battle Royal coming up on May 13th in St. Louis, Missouri, on one of the biggest wrestling extravaganzas of all time in the St. Louis area. Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, put those hands together once again and welcome our other guest, Miss Barbara Goodish.
Don't do it, all right? It would be a bad.
Gremlins, everybody. That's all I gotta say. Barbara, how you doing tonight?
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a very pleasure to be on your show. And hi, Herb.
Herb is here. Barb is here, and we're just going to enjoy the next time here on the show. Here, we've got a lot planned out, and like I said, we've got a lot of people tuning in here tonight, listening, looking on, and there's a lot coming up. But I mean, just the first half of this year has just been stacked in the St. Louis area with all that we've got going on, and I think really the coup de grace. If Herb tops anything that's happening on May 13th, I don't know what else is going to happen. I really don't. I mean, hang on, buckle your seatbelts and hang on to anything that won't buckle loose.
Okay, I'm hanging.
It's going to be a long and wild, crazy ride, everybody. So we're going to exchange. We've got questions going back and forth here tonight, and like I said, we just want to mix it up between the both of you here. Of course, also Herb, officially come May will be the 64th anniversary of wrestling at the Chase, and trying to pay homage to a lot of that. Of course, that started in 1959, and just a lot of that history here. If you look over that shoulder here, you see that book on there, Wrestling at the Chase, and trust me, it does not get dusty. Okay, I promise you that. I love looking at those pictures, and also I want to scoot over this way a little bit here too, because they got probably one of the best shirts going, best wrestling shirt that I own, and I'm not just saying it because Barbara being on here. I mean,
Okay.
that, I mean, it's just the artwork is incredible on that shirt. So,
Is this what you're
oh
talking
yeah,
about? The shirt that's on?
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Isn't
yep.
that awesome? That that is one of the coolest paintings
Oh my
of I
God, that
have
is amazing.
ever seen, and they produced it on a shirt. And you tell the story, Herb, about who did it.
Yeah, Nick Rednire's lady friend. Just, I mean, what a talent that she is. I keep telling Nick she's wasting her talent. That picture has been talked about all around the world. Basically, I get people texting me all the time. Hey, where can we get copies of that? And we'll have some available on May 13th.
Nice.
Right. So I mean, I'm telling you, it's the who's who of. I mean, can you just imagine the fan fest is just going to have a lot forever. It's going to have a lot to offer for everybody, not just with what the nearly 40 legends and stars that have been into this business, um, that are going to grace us with their presence, but there's just other opportunities for merchandise. I mean, my goodness, there's going to be a lot to offer that day. Especially when you walk in the door, not only just where you see our smiley faces, me and Zach, but there's going to be other vendors there too. So, I mean,
I
so
can't wait to see.
yeah, I mean, it's going to be awesome with everything, that's going to be there for all the vendors, and of course, all the stars that are going to be there offering autographs, other opportunities as well, and it's going to be one fantastic day. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. I'm going to go ahead and kick things off here with Herb, because first off, Herb, I want to kind of bring this up here real quick. Uh, with the wrestling at the Iron Shriners Temple, of course, for those who don't know, Herb did grow up over in East St. Louis, Illinois, right nearby the temple, and of course, the temple has had some great events over the years. I mean, the building's beautiful on the inside. Stadium seating about 1,500 people. You can probably get in there. Um, who knows? Maybe more. Depends on how, if you want to be a sardine or not. But otherwise, but 50 years her being in the business, and now you're having this show this Saturday. Mr. USA Tony Atlas and the Ace Cowboy Bob Orton will be there. Um, so kind of describe how it means to you to put on a show with your 50th anniversary in the business. I mean, does it kind of feel like a homecoming? Kind of a you know, like a circle coming around uh, from when you first started, and so kind of take us through that.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you brought that up because that is the next big show, and it's been in the making for, believe it or not, for me, that show has been in the making for about the last 20 years that they've been asking me to do a show at the Einide Temple there, and we finally, after all these years, managed to get it put together. But the fun part about it is I grew up right down the street, about 2 blocks north of the beautiful. It's a 100-year-old building. A lot of great events has taken place there. I grew up in the housing projects, and wrestling in St. Louis started on 9th Street years ago with the building called the Old Social Center, and that's where people like Luthez and Pat O'Connor, Cowboy Bob Ellis, that people could go and see them on a weekly basis there. So there was always rich wrestling history there in that area. As well as over in St. Louis, but great building. As you said, it's about 89,000 square feet building. You got to have a roadmap to get around inside of it, or you get lost. But the Shriners organization is such a great organization. They do so much fantastic work for a lot of people. I mean, the Shriners Hospital. They take care of people from all around the world, basically, if they have to. And this is kind of a way that I feel it's helping give back to what they do. And they're about 5,000 to 6,000 strong in just our region here in the county and around the surrounding counties. But we're really looking forward to it. They've been promoting it. I've been promoting it off and on as much as possible. But we hope that the fans will come out and support it because it is for a great cause. And to have the legends like Cowboy Bob Orton Jr. and Mr. USA Tony Atlas there, which they won't be just there signing autographs. They're going to be in action that night. So it's going to be a great night next Saturday evening.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. As far as the caliber, I mean, the talent. I mean, the Shriners is a great. Definitely, you want to come out and support these guys. Of course, Shriners helping out the kids who need help with any type of hospital, with any hospital visits or anything else. They're there. So anything we can do to raise money to help these guys. I mean, the Shriners has just been a great, definitely been a great all across the country, especially here around the St. Louis area. And it's definitely come out and support them. Even if it's, $20 general admission, kids, I believe it's 15. And of course, I don't know. So do you still have some tables available to reserve if we get a group of 8 or more, or I think it's a group of 8?
Oh yeah, that building is when I tell them how many fans I can put in there, they don't believe me. But with the stadium seating and that floor, the tables, we won't turn anybody away. That's kind of been my motto for 50 years. If you've spent your hard-earned money to come to an SICW show, I'm definitely not going to turn you away. We're going to find someplace for you. So, and we will. They'll have plenty of room available on the floor, or depending on what you buy. But they've sold several tables to groups, organizations that are really supporting them. So, but it's going to be a great time, and the doors will open at 4:00, and the bell time will be at 5 p.m. I was just telling my wife tonight, Tony Atlas, everybody knows he's an artist in his own right, and he's actually drew a picture of that building with a picture of himself and Bob Orton with it, and we'll have them available there also. And I'm really looking forward to having fans come out and support this great cause.
Oh yeah, exactly. And here's one thing I wanted to show some of our other fans here. This is actually, can you give us a little bit more information on this right here? This is the Shriners All Shrine Champion championship belt here that was made. So can you give us a little bit more insight on this?
Yeah, they actually, I had a meeting last Thursday night doing a little logistical last minute meeting with them, and they sprung that basically and said, hey, what would you think we do this on an annual event? And we crowned the first ever I-9 Shriners champion. So that beautiful belt that they actually went out and had made themselves will be on the line, and someone will walk out of that night as the first ever I-9 Shriners champion.
Oh, excellent, man. It looks like a sweet little belt. Not a nice little get up here just for the event. So man, I'll tell you what, sounds like there's gonna be a lot of great action coming up. Definitely you'll definitely get your money's worth. If you like you said, if you decide, $20 is great just to get in the door and support a great cause, but hey, where else can you get a good seat like that, for that price?
Well, that reasonable price that goes for a great cause, and I think that's sometimes what some people forget about is that this money goes for a great cause, and the Shriners are one of the greatest organizations out there, and I'm just honored that we were able to finally get the dates together and going to make it happen. So hopefully it'll become an annual thing, and then maybe after I'm long gone, somebody will take over and continue to go in and help the fine Shriners out.
Yeah, absolutely. So this coming Saturday night is going to be a great event to be had over of the I-9 Shriners. And so we got our next question here for you, Herb. I'm going to tag over here to Zach in order to get that started.
So with the St. Louis Wrestling Club being part of the NWA since throughout its existence and stuff, and just recently now NWA's kind of went on their own as their own promotion. Do you think in today's world territories could come back and flourish? And if so, how would those components actually work and get started?
Well, and that's kind of who you ask that question to. I mean, if you ask me, yes, I say yes on one hand, and we're kind of doing that now. I think Rick and I have had that conversation before. Territories work when you have promoters who aren't just thinking about themselves. Um, we're doing that kind of now. I mean, a couple of the SICW locker room guys were down in southern Missouri for New Breed Wrestling just last night. Last month they were down in Springfield, Missouri with our good friend Jason Jones, the Space Cowboy, with the Mid States Wrestling, dating back a few years ago when our good friend Bert Prentice with us with Championship Wrestling was kind of the idea that him and I had before he passed away, that if you could get half a dozen or a dozen of these promoters that could put their egos outside and realize that it's about the fans and about the workers that's out there busting their tail each and every night. And I work you up here for 6 months to a year, and then I send you to Tennessee, or I send you up to Troy Peterson up in Impact Pro Wrestling. It can work, but again, it all starts at the head of anything, and that's the promoter having to realize that you got to be able to put those egos aside, and it'll work. Will it work? It will, but does promoters want it to work? I have not found too many promoters that want to do that.
That is the darndest thing, because I think in today's society we could have a beautiful, as like some of the people say, the forbidden door feel to it, with people being used in different areas and then coming back. I want to see that restructured somehow in some way in today's wrestling.
Well, and you've been around now for quite some time, and we've talked about my 25-mile rule, which wasn't my 25-mile rule. That was a rule that my locker room had came up with. A couple of boys that aren't with me any longer wanted it to be a 50-mile rule, and some of the talent out there took bad feelings about that. They thought I was trying to control where they could work and where they couldn't. But if they'd have just sat back and thought, or if they'd pick up the phone and called me, I'd have told them that rule actually benefits you more than anybody, because you're out spreading your wings. When we talk about a road trip don't mean getting in your car and driving 10 miles down the road, because the odds are you're probably still working in front of the same fan base. You want to get out there and get known, get in your car, drive to Tennessee, drive to Arkansas, drive to Chicago, drive up to Iowa, go up to see Austin Bayless's operation up there, guys that I work with. That's a road trip. 5-10 miles down the road is not a road trip. And anybody, when I interview some of these legends on my show, we talk about that all the time. And, if back in the day, if you didn't go 100 miles or 200 miles away, the promoter just told you to pack your bags and don't come back, because I can't work you as my big heel here. And then 5 miles down the road, some promoter who woke up one morning and said, oh, I got my income tax check back, and I bought a ring, and I want to be in the business, and I'm going to make you my big baby here. So now what am I doing? I'm confusing the fans, and I refuse to do that. So.
Makes perfect sense to me. I'm in. I'm on board. I understand it. I get it.
You need to be a promoter.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't know, Zach, how much you get back this year? So
not enough for a ring, I can tell you that right now.
Oh man, I've heard about that. Tax time promoters, yeah, and run it until the wall runs dry. So you think you probably got enough for maybe 2 shows. So and you don't even buy your own ring, so you must not have had something big. My goodness. So. And I'm been showing some pictures here. This is actually pictures here from Wrestling That Chase. Going back to this is looks like this is in the studio here. Of course, black and white here. It looks like Dick the Bruiser there. Of course, in the '60s, and then of course I think they went to color. What did they go to color like in '72? I believe, or
no, it was a little bit before that,
or a little bit before. Okay.
That was right when the color was starting to come out, and that's why they ended up moving to the studio, because the cameras were so expensive. They didn't want to take a chance of damaging them and So they ended up moving out of the core sand room, and it was just the wall that separated those rooms on the other side. So they moved it over to the studio.
Nice.
I gotcha. All right. Well, now it's my turn here, and I'm actually going to be my question is going to actually be for Barbara to get her in here for the first time here tonight. So, um, I mean, Barbara, if you want to go ahead and kind of explain how, I mean, if you like that, how you came across meeting Frank for the first time, and what I even want to know about that, being before you met him, were you even involved or even interested in pro wrestling? And even after getting to know him, did you get a like for the sport even more than that? I mean, you could definitely be honest here because I've had some girlfriends in the past. It's like, this is what the heck he does, and it's like, well, it's whatever. We got our own thing, but some are of course very supportive. So, so kind of on those elements, if you want to talk about how you got ran into Frank, did you even like professional wrestling before you even knew him, and what about afterwards?
Well, it all began. I happened to be working in a hotel in Sydney, Australia, where all the boys, that's what we call, they were doing a circuit from America. They would send them over to do a circuit from New Zealand and Australia. So I just happened to be working in the hotel that they would come to stay at in Sydney. So I really had nothing to do with wrestling. Except you have to remember, this was 1977. Oops, that's a long time ago. And don't want to give my age away. this, was, this was 1977. And remember, there was no social media, there was no internet. If you had a phone call over to a different country, you couldn't even afford it back in those days. So what it was, their wives would send them mail, to keep them updated and send them photographs of their children and things. So I would give them their mail. They would open it and talk because, it was a very lonely existence back in those days where you didn't have that communication with family. So in a way, they kind of became like all my big brothers. I had all these big brothers. And when I say big, I mean Andre the Giant. That's what you call a big brother.
Right.
Then I had little brothers too. I think it was little Billy, who was one of the midget wrestlers, one of the, the smaller wrestlers. So when I say I had all sorts of brothers, because as I said, it was just one of those things. They were kind of became all my friends. And I became a very good friend with Killer Carl Krupp, who passed today. He's been, passed for quite some time too. So, and I was just happened to be working down at the front desk when Frank checked in, when Bruiser Frank checked in to the hotel that day. Well, it was nothing because, as I said, there was no agendas. I had nothing to do with wrestling or anything. I had no idea, except I knew all them as a person, just as regular people. And as we know in life, don't ever judge a book by its cover, because until you get to know somebody, you don't know how you react to them. So I had all these, as you can imagine, quite an assortment of different type people. So it just so happened, and then about a couple of months later, just hello, goodbye, nothing like that. I got talked into doing a 3 to 11 shift because somebody hadn't showed up. So I went, oh, well, what am I doing? I'll work a double shift, work 9 to 5 and 3 to 11. So I was just getting ready to leave finished my shift. I was just getting ready to leave. When they all came back, they'd all had a show in Sydney. It must be just outside Sydney. So they're all coming back in their cabs to come back to the hotel. So Carl just happened to come over to me and said, look, why don't you come up? My boss was an American gentleman, and he owned a piano bar called the Bourbon and Beef that was up the road from where the hotel was. So as you know, when you work a late night gig, it's like working a 5 o'clock gig. You get off early. You're not really ready. You're ready to kind of unwind. Even if it's 11 o'clock at night, you kind of unwind. So I thought, well, there's no harm. I'll go up. There was like about 12 of them. And I said, well, that's no problem. I'll come up. Frank was there. And we're all sitting at this huge big table and kind of, talking and sharing stories and everything. And then one by one, they would get up. One by one, they would start to leave. And one less would come back to the table. Didn't think anything of it at that time. And then all of a sudden, there was 3 of us, which was Carl, me, and Frank. And then Carl gets up and says, I'll be right back. Well, what do you think? He didn't come back. I got worked. He had set it up. He worked me from the very beginning. So, because he didn't know how to ask me out, he said, she's not going to come out with me. So she might feel comfortable if we're, everybody is there. So that's what happened. And then just started talking. And as I said, just as you know, one thing led to another. And it was like, and everybody said, oh, he's going to get ready to go home. Don't get involved with him. They're in a strange town. They're just looking for companionship. I said, that's fine. I'm a good companion. So I never thought anything of it. And then this one night, he came back. He had worked a show. And he came back. He said, I'm leaving tomorrow. Well, I think if I don't have to say it, Frank was kind of known as, if things didn't go quite right, Herb?
Yep. Now don't get me telling those stories.
Herb's got some stories. And so he came back. He said, I'm leaving for America in the morning. Oh, well, okay, nice to know you. He'd been paid that night, and he had this big chunk of money, and he put it on the table. Well, if anybody knew Frank was the most frugal person you could ever meet. Green beans and tuna that he'd carry so he wouldn't have to pay money going to a restaurant. He'd eat his protein, at the hotel room that night. Save money where you can. Have all these nice people come pick him up at the hotel so he didn't have to pay for cabs in the different cities and that. And he was a good friend. So when he did that, all he said was, I'd like you to come over. I know you can't come tomorrow, but maybe, you can come over at some time. Not one word, no promises, no nothing, just, I'd like you to come over. I figured out, knowing he was that frugal, that he put all that money in front of me, that he must trust me, because I could have just kept that money and stayed. I mean, it was quite a bit of money to get a ticket over to America. So I knew that right then he didn't have to say something, that he trusted me. And sometimes when you know that means more than anything. You don't have to say words if you trust somebody and you know that they trust you. So he left the next day. It took me about a couple of weeks because I'd been there 10 years. So I had to tie up a lot of loose ends and everything. I couldn't just leave. I had to get visas. I had to get, tickets and everything. So I thought to myself, well, I can take a trip to America. Okay. But I had to get a ticket out of America because you can't get into America, of course, which is natural without a ticket out. So I got a ticket to America, to San Antonio I was going to London, because usually that's the place you always want to end up anyway. When you're English, you want to go to London and visit there. So I thought, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll get a trip to London. So that's fine. Of course, I'm still here in America, so I guess it did work out.
And we're glad it did.
So I always remember, though, I was so afraid, you get on that plane, one telephone call in all the time that we had been, apart, like it was a couple of weeks. And I was like, okay, I sent him, when I'll be arriving in San Antonio. I get to Los Angeles. The first people that I met in Los Angeles getting off the plane was the Hare Krishnas. Remember, these were the days they could meet all the planes. There was no restrictions back in those days. So I walk off the plane to get a connection, and here are the Hare Krishnas all there. And I said, oh, this is America. Okay. This is a little different.
So with all that time of Frank being on the road and stuff, and you guys now with this blossoming romance and stuff, how was that communication, and how did you guys go about, staying in contact as he is on the road still doing the wrestling?
So what it was, he was staying with a wonderful couple and their children. So I went and lived with them because, Frank was, of course, on the road. So I was living in a family situation, so I wasn't by myself. which was good. But I think he understood because he once said to me, I had to come halfway around the world to understand someone that would put up with my lifestyle. Because he said, I'm not going to be home that much. So, you know, you're going to be by yourself a lot. And I want to explain exactly what it's going to be. I said, fine. You know, I was an independent person. I'd left home at an early age and traveled and that. And I always know that, you know, when you get an opportunity, take it. Don't think about it sometimes because it just can lead to incredible things. Because sometimes we think too much and we miss out on a lot of opportunities, you know. But to come back to the other story, no, I knew nothing about wrestling. I've only been to a handful of wrestling shows. Just so before you ask that, no, I didn't travel with him. Just a few times in roundabout San Antonio, because we ended up in San Antonio, where he was living at the time. A few trips and small trips, so I would go, but I usually wouldn't go. Like go to Corpus Christi. I would go walk along the river, not the river, the waterfront, and meet him after the match. But the one match, and I Herb knows this match, the one match that I was taken to was the match when he did 1 hour with Ric Flair in St. Louis. Because I know people in the Japanese were there at that time too, and I think a lot of people didn't realize that he could wrestle for 1 hour with the match. Because people still talk to me today about that match, and I was lucky. That's the one I did see. So
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. I heard a lot about that here too. I think I might have even seen at least Flair and him. Uh, Someone has posted some video on YouTube about that. As far as going going the full 60 or 45 or whatever they were wrestling at that point down at the keel.
They actually did that 3 different times.
Yeah, I know. I said that. I don't know. I don't know if that was the exact one or not because they did it more than once. I know. So who knows which match we got from that. So, but no, he but to go that long, with today, oh my goodness. I mean, 60 minutes. If you can pull off a 60-minute match with the attention span of a lot of the wrestling fans today, I mean, if you could pull off 60 where they're zoned in the entire time, then you definitely done something right. So,
see, I think
and you know,
yeah, I think a lot of this was Japan because Japan was a whole new wrestling scene. It had nothing to do with like the American wrestling scene because they had to work over there. It was hard work. He'd always come back and tell me. I mean, you work. When you go to Japan, you work. And a lot of times I said, and I did see some wrestling matches because a lot of times he would get some tapes from Japan and he would sit there and he would critique the match. And you'd say, well, okay, well, that was good. Well, no, that really didn't good. So like he used wrestling as a business. He didn't use it like to be entertainment. He did it as a business because he always wanted to give the fans the best night of their life so that when they left that arena, they would say, dang, is it real or not? You know, that was a great match. And that means that and today I know it worked because when I go to these fan fests and I go around the country and I have I have to call them kids, these young adults that will come and talk to me. And a lot of these young adults weren't even born when he left us. They're not even 35 years old. So whatever it was, he left a legacy that still stands today.
yep, exactly. I mean, like I said, obviously we're talking about him. Reliving, trying to keep his memory alive, and I mean, that's a testament to something. I mean, to the fans that just talk about. I mean, not about us around here, but it's just a lot um who kept his memory alive, and and we're gonna kind of talk to him a little bit more. We'll talk about him a little bit more here as we go down the pike here, with our with our show. And one thing I wanted to kind of bring up here is, um, sorry about this. Thought I had this. I had this ready. Yeah, Zach would tell you. You think I have things ready, and I really don't. So, like psych. I don't have
You
it
are
ready.
a scatterbrain, but it's okay. That's what we love about you, Ruby.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. Well, oh, it's usually kind of a kind of a big thing here as far as what I'm trying to pull off here. But I think I'm gonna be able to. Oh yeah, here we go.
And watch,
Uh,
see, you're the magician. Boom, done,
yeah, there
fixed.
we go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Watch. You see me pull that rabbit out of the hat? No, because it was too quick. Um. So here we go. We're gonna move on here. I'm gonna get to Herb here because we're gonna be bringing up another individual who embodies part of the memory of this because this is Bruiser Brody, Larry Madison, Tony Costa Memorial Battle Royal. But of course, the winner of this will get the Bruiser Brody Cup this year. Of course, Bobby D. Uh, I believe Bobby D will be defending and being in there, right? Herb?
Yeah, he's going for a two-peat, man. First
Yeah,
ever.
yeah. No, I don't think anybody's. I don't think everybody's defended it successfully. It's almost like a Battle Royal Championship, but it's once a year. But there's a very definitely a certain prestige to the cup for certain. And but what I want to talk about here, Herb, as we derive here, is let's talk about some in regards to Larry Madison and some of the valuable points that he's made in the industry around here with St. Louis wrestling, and to kind of remind the folks here on how you two actually met. And then after meeting him and going through him in the business, what important factors did you learn from Larry to carry on with you throughout the growth of you being in the wrestling business throughout the years?
Well, I'm glad you threw that up there, and then I'm going to move just aside. You can see those three. There's Bruiser, and there's Larry in the middle, and there's Sam Muchnick on my in my little area here. But I tell this to everybody. I owe everything to those three men. Um, what I've learned in this business. Um, Larry was the protege of Sam Muchnick when he was 16 years old. He started everything from sweeping the floors to whatever Sam needed. He didn't even have a driver's license back when his dad had to drive him to the office to first meet Sam. And, it grew from there. Sam knew that Larry had a gift for writing. So, later on, he let him start writing articles. He let him call the results in back in the day to the radio stations because back then wrestling at the Chase was a household name, and fans look forward to hearing those results. So Larry did a variety of things for Sam, and then of course one of the greatest moments of my career and starting off, which I didn't even know at that time was going to be a career, was getting to meet Sam through Larry. And to this day, I will never forget that, what Larry did for me. We shared other things in common, law enforcement. His father used to be back then it was called the civil defense director in Belleville, Illinois, where Larry was born and raised at. A position that I hold now, only it's called the emergency management director of. So we shared that. Larry was big into all sports, but my bond with Larry was the professional wrestling, and it was something that kept us together. We may start off talking about the weather, or he'd be telling me about a basketball game or a hockey game, but before we got done, whether I was at his house or we were on the phone, we were talking wrestling. And of course, when he introduced me to Frank Bruiser Brody, man, it was just like I was on top of the mountain. And so I owe everything to him. And I learned valuable lessons from Sam. Treat the boys right, they'll treat you right. keep your ears open and your mouth shut. You'll go a long way in this business. And this last February was my 50th year. So he told me something right. And I was doing Teddy Long's podcast the other night, him and Mac Davis's, and Teddy told me the same thing. He said he was told at a young age, keep your ears open, your mouth shut. And he said, you know, I went on to be general manager of SmackDown and whatever else he's done. And so I think that's a lesson that a lot of people could learn. And it's not that you're trying to say you know everything, but you know, if somebody has walked in the shoes of the size of a Sam Muchnick or a Larry Matasek or a Bruiser Brody, I was a good student, and I took everything to heart that all three of those men told me.
Yeah.
I want to go on Teddy
You know, like I
Long's.
said, you know, we're looking at the iconic photo here with you, Larry, and Sam. You know, back in the day, and then, of course later on in life here. Even Larry continued to try and serve, you know, around the wrestling community for as long as he could. Uh, you know, and later on in his years, Larry, you know, I mean, tell you, just is one of those iconic voices, at least back in my childhood, that I take with me because you know, watching the chase. You know, of course, I didn't get to the chase until like, you know, to the last years because I was still, you know, like a little tight trying to take it all in. I mean, my goodness. I mean, I think I might have talked to this, you know, with you about this before her, but you know, when I was like, we would skip out uh, somehow, or we would even take time when I wasn't even on church on Sunday, with some of this would air. Even with between that and world class, there's like a little TV that you know that we either get ABC, either channel 30, or we go to KPLR, and we try to watch. Well, we couldn't even through church, so it's like you know, wrestling was my sanctuary basically.
Yeah.
Praise
Well,
the Lord. Okay, now,
yeah.
now who the heck did Ric Flair and the Von Erichs are beating up? Okay,
Yeah.
so,
Well,
so that was,
and I think Barbara can tell you that Frank had a love for St. Louis, for Larry, for Sam, and I think it was evident that any time that I ever needed him on a show, he always made time to do it, and it was just I think that comes with respect and credibility, and I think if it hadn't have been for Larry and Sam opening that first door with Frank, I may have been treated like he treated some of the other promoters that tried to screw him over the years. And I know Barbara knows what I'm talking about. And that's one thing that Larry always told me. He said, you don't want to have Frank mad at you. And so, man, I'm telling you, that never happened. And I think that's why up until that terrible day back in 1988, the weekend before, he was with Larry and I, and I had a bar and grill in Cahokia, Illinois, and we had the Bruiser Brody weekend, and we had the upstairs turned into the Brody Lounge, where when he was in the area and he needed someplace to unwind, and him and Larry and I could sit and talk, or some of the fans that really we knew he could feel comfortable. He didn't have to worry about being at just some place and somebody wanting to come in and to challenge him, you know, because we wouldn't allow that to happen. Not that we had to; he could take care of himself, but everybody that came there knew that it was off limits unless you were one of the VIPs. But he taught me so much about, you know, how to work with the guys. And the first time he wanted me to book Abdullah the Butcher against him, he gave me the whole lowdown. It was about a 30-minute. This is what's going to happen when you call Abby. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. And this is what you need to do. And but he said, just don't mention my name. He said, you'll never learn how to book these guys if you use me as the crutch. And he was sitting there while I was negotiating with Abby on the phone. And when me and Abby was about this far apart making a deal, you know, Frank's writing down on paper, telling you'll let Frank know. And so I said, okay, I'll let Frank know that we can't reach an agreement. He said, Frank. I said, yeah, Bruiser Brody. He said, what day, let me check my book. What day do you need me there? So, he just thought I was a nobody. And until I used Frank's name, and Frank told me, he said, you'll get your credibility each time you book these guys. You book a Murdoch, you book a Jerry Blackwell or a Kamala, that will spread like wildfire. And it has. And I'm not bragging about it. And I think Barbara can tell you that it's like when you mentioned Barbara Goodish name, everybody knows Barbara Goodish. And after 50 years, I'm pretty well, and I think the May 13th card is showing that the people that's coming in for that,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Super excited.
Yeah, no, we're super excited.
I'm super scared.
I mean, I'm gonna be in the same building with one of the guys that like. I'm all about characters in wrestling, so like I like the matches too, but like I'm very big into characters and stuff. And Teddy Long's one of my favorite, like top 5. If it wouldn't be for Adam Pearce right now, like Teddy'd be like 3rd, because Adam Pearce is really creeping up on that number 1 spot on like authority figures in wrestling. I love Adam Pearce's. So,
well, Teddy Long's another example. I've been in a building with Teddy a few times, but never had really any conversation with him. And last month, Nick Rednire, who was helping put this thing together with me, is friends with Teddy, and Nick was on their podcast, and Mac Davis talking about, oh man, Herb Simmons is this, Herb Simmons has done that, and Teddy said, well, wait a minute, I got to tell you something now. He says, all I do is I hear Herb Simmons' name everywhere in the country. I've never met him before. And he said, so I must be living under a rock. And Mac Davis says, well, guess what, holla, playa? You must be living under a rock if you don't know who Herb Simmons is. So, but I got to tell you a real quick story. Since you like Teddy, you'll get a kick out of this. The other night after we did this at the end, I don't know if you got to see it or not, but we're talking at the end of the podcast about how we're all getting older and, what's going to happen when we go. And he said, my granddaddy told me one day, he said, we're all going to get that call one day. And I said, yeah, unfortunately, we can't escape that. And he says, well, you know what I did, don't you? I said, what's that? He said, I turned my phone off.
I mean, yeah, I'm a big fan of Teddy Long. There's a reason you got a text message from me one day.
Yeah.
You remember that? That's fact.
Yeah, great. But back to that, Frank and Sam and Larry, and I think Barbara will co-sign on that Frank had a special place for St. Louis, for SICW, and for, anytime back then when you could have a show and a guy like Frank Goodish, Bruiser Brody, King Kong Brody would show up at the building and say, what do you want tonight? That's respect. Here I am, this little bitty promoter, where I was a big guy back then, but little bitty, trying to just follow my dream and catch it. But I got this guy that's larger than life. I mean, this guy is on national television. He's all over, I get to sit in the Belle Claire Fairgrounds with Larry Matisek and I and a couple of Japanese photographers and watch him roll around in the ring with Lou Thez, one of the all-time greats, if not the greatest. Just in that you've been in that building. I mean, literally, we're sitting there just watching him roll around for a couple hours. I mean, I'll never forget that. I mean, it's nobody can say they got to do that, but Larry Matisek and I and those 2 photographers, and that's when they were working up a match for Japan, and they picked us. We had the ring set up. We had the show that night, and I thought, man, what's this going to be? And man, it was an experience of a lifetime to watch Lou Thez and Bruiser Brody move. And when Barbara talked earlier about people didn't think Frank could go in there and hang with the best of them for an hour, whew, they showed me that day.
No, because Frank always had such respect for you, Herb, of course, Larry, and of course, Sam. I mean, Sam did the ultimate of all when he was working Kansas City and he had the show in St. Louis in November. And I had gone into labor and had his son. Well, when he got to St. Louis, the hotel clerk had given him the message that his son had been born. he went to the matches that night because he had a match with Sam in St. Louis. What did Sam do, Herb?
Told him get on the plane and get home to his family. Didn't even let him go on that night. And that's the kind of guy Sam was. I mean, Frank was the reason he made Sam a lot of money in the business. But not the side of that is Sam had a heart. And here's your wife just gave birth to your son, and you're in St. Louis at a wrestling show. We'll get by without you. Get home to your family. And Frank never forgot that.
No, he arrived to the into the hospital. I think it was like 9 o'clock or something that 10 o'clock that night.
Yeah.
He left the next day, but he got to see his son on the day that he was born. And that was, I said, and I know that was the respect he had for St. Louis, because I don't think any other promoter would have done the same thing. In fact, I'm sure no other promoter would have done the same thing, that they would have put him to work that night and not given him, but no, that was an incredible thing. But no, he just enjoyed working. He enjoyed making fans happy. And and like with Herb, one of the few, I mean, I could tell the people that he respected. I mean, Herb and Larry, Sam, they're right up there. And it was just great everything they've done. And now that Herb has done this Bruiser Brody memorial every year, I mean, what an honor. And even the fans, it's the same fans all the time. And whenever I get into ring, when he puts me in the ring, what do they chant? It's like a chant goes up. It's either Brody, 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 or Huss, 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 which a lot of people. So, it's always such an honor. The only trouble is, especially when Larry was, before Larry left us, I was a little apprehensive always going to the matches. Herb knows what I'm going to say. Because I'd be out in the dressing room when they're going through, getting the matches all ready. They would put me in the match. They'd make me do something. And I'm like, I can't do that.
But I always had somebody there with you, whether it be Dr. D. David Schultz or somebody like that, to make sure the bad guys didn't get a hold of you. But,
they make me slap people. I said, I can't slap anybody. I said, no, don't go like that. Go like that. I said, I can't do that. I think I got excited, though, and I did do the hard one.
You did. You did great.
And then another one, I had to pull over by a ponytail from the top rope down to the bottom of the floor. I said, I can't do that. Yes, you can. You can do that. Throw chairs in the ring or throw garbage bins in the ring. I never knew what I would, and I enjoyed doing, because I would do anything for her.
Well, I appreciate that, and just to back up, I know you guys got a schedule you're trying to keep, but as I was sitting here listening to her tell that story about how her and Frank met, and I've heard that I can't tell you how many times, but is that the closest thing to a Cinderella story you ever want to hear? I mean, here's a young, beautiful lady that got worked by all these guys. And I remember Frank telling Larry and me that story, and that's how smart she was. After she realized what it was, she knew what the word was, being worked. But for her to pick up roots and to follow him, and then for them to have the life they did, that's a Cinderella story.
Oh.
Yeah. I can't imagine. He had to at least give a look at somebody, had to look at each one in a certain way to know it's, hey, it's your time to go. Get out of here.
Shoe fly.
He told me they had it all worked. And you know how seriously what it was when you drink this many drinks and then you get the hell out of here. And then when you drink this many, you get out of here. Because if they'd all left at the same time, they thought that she'd have something she figured out. So, how many drinks can you have before you have to go to the bathroom,
Right.
And they did it pretty quick. They'd have a drink. Yeah, they'd have a drink, and one would go, and one would finish, the first drink. They would go, we'll be back. We just got to go. And all of a sudden, no, here we were, just the two of us. It was pretty clever when you really come down to it. It was pretty clever.
It was pretty good.
Another thing, too, because I knew everybody because of working and seeing them in a work environment. There wasn't any pretense. If you're, as you know, going back, if you go out on a date, you're sometimes not the person you really are because you're trying to impress the other person. When you when there's no dating attached to it or anything, and you're just yourself, you're just you. There's no pretense or anything. And I think, yeah, and I think that was part of it because we'd already talked and already knew everybody, and it was just me. I wasn't trying to be anyone I wasn't. I was. This is what you get. This is me. This is who
That's
I
it.
am. You know, and I think that works too because you're just sitting there talking. Everybody was telling stories and about our lives and things like that. So, yeah, and I was like, okay, he probably kicked them under the table. Your turn to go.
Well,
Get in his way.
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
the one thing I want to say that, and we all know the terrible thing in 1988, but and Barbara can tell you that there was plans being made, that Frank had, that I think, had that not happened, and his ability to put things together with the right people. If he would have been around still, and if Larry would have still been with us, um, I can't say to what extent we'd have been, a force to be reckoned with, but I'm going to tell you, um, to have Frank at the head of what we were planning, I think eyes would have been opened, because he was there was a guy that read the Wall Street Journal on every airplane that he was on, and was very, as Barbara said, money. He knew how to take care of money, and he knew the right people, and it's just a shame what happened. Um, but it would have been something that he'd have been proud of, that he was going to build.
Yeah, because he had already started a corporation, BAM, Brody Athletic Management. He had already bought a wrestling ring from Tully Blanchard's father, Joe Blanchard, which we had at our place in San Antonio, outside San Antonio. And he was already working with a gentleman from the University of Texas in San Antonio. And what their plan was going to be is, remember the DARE program, the drug program that goes around the schools and universities, the schools and that.
Mhm.
They were thinking, if we get it approved, by the school district, go to a school, set up the ring, have Frank in there talking in his costumes and how he looked in the ring as Bruiser. Go up there and talk about the dangers of drugs in the youth, because let's face it, our youth doesn't want to talk to anyone in authority. They kind of, we don't know what we're talking about. We do. But you put someone as powerful as what Frank was, and you think that they wouldn't stop and listen and maybe get some advice of the dangers out there because of the way he portrayed and how he could get people to believe. And and we also had some acreage out in the country with a little mobile home and a little river running through it. And his idea was to, in the school holidays, take some of the, unfortunate youth, unfortunate boys out, have a little camp, just have a camp and let them do some fishing and things like that. Because sometimes it just takes one person that can change another person's life by showing that they care.
Right. And pursuing some of that more positive energy that you're putting out, in talks of Mr. Brody, Bruiser Brody's, legendary career and legendary implements that he had on the business, inside and out, keeping that positivity. What are some of the ways that you are seeing that positive light still shined with, paying homage to this great man?
Well, I see the one thing that gets me, I see when I go to these fan fests and that, and some of the respectful, and these are the ones that are starting to wrestle now too. They'll come up and talk to me, and they'll talk about Frank, and it's like he's still, like you said, he's still people still remember that, like I was telling you, the youth that weren't even around, when everything happened. And they'll talk and they say, we watch his YouTube and we watch him work, and we've read your book. I wrote a book with Larry Matisak. We read your book. And because I think of his positivity in the book and just on these YouTubes and how people hear him talk and understand how he is. And I think sometimes even these podcasts, and I'm talking about him as a person, because he never lost sight of who he was. He was Frank Goodish, husband, father, friend. He walked into the airport. He became Bruiser Brody. But he knew how to be Bruiser Brody, and he knew how to be Frank Goodish. He didn't, like sometimes in the entertainment business, it doesn't matter what type of entertainment, you lose sight of who you really are, and you become the character you created. So I just think of what, as Herbert said, the things that he could have done today. But even today, I know that he still is so remembered. And he has his own Facebook pages, you know. And it's so great because I get to see pictures that I have never seen before, especially in Japan. I think he's got some in Japan, a Facebook page in Japan that the Japanese have on. He's got a couple of Facebook pages here. And I get to see, and this is coming up to 35 years after, and it's like he's still here.
Yeah, and it's always good to, like I said, you keep the memories alive, and you remember the best things about
You
the
know,
person and all of our loved ones. Then that's the best that we all can do. Is make sure that the memory stays alive. Just don't forget them, and that's probably the best uh you can do, or for someone, for a
I
loved one or anybody like that. So,
I
uh,
know, and then not to interrupt, and then I don't know if you've seen, the Vice network of Bruiser Brody. They still keep in touch with me because that was their pilot. That's why they came to me, and I was a little dubious, but I'd sooner be involved in something and have some say instead of somebody going out and doing things, because then you have no say in it.
That
People
one
can
was
say anything they want.
it was well done. I thought it paid
Yeah, it
it
was.
paid love and told the story at the same time, which is what made me enjoy it so much.
And the thing that really got me was, my son has not wanted to do anything with wrestling. He now accepts the fact that who his father was. He kind of, losing his father at 7 years old, of the way he lost his father, he kind of, closed down and didn't really want. I think he kind of blamed wrestling a little bit of not having a father. So when the Vice, I mean, with Evan and Jason, who were around about Jeff's age, the producers that were doing it, I went into Austin. My son lives in Austin, and they got along really good because they're around about the same age. So when I'm doing that interview, and I was doing an interview with them, and then Jeff was in the room, and they turned around to Jeff and they said, would you like to say a few words? My mouth dropped because he's never, ever talked or never done anything at all. And he actually, as you saw on the Vice, he actually got up and said a few words. The words he said really got to me, though, because I think, in a way, they asked him, did he have what memories, or how many memories, what memories did he have of his dad? And he kind of said, well, everybody has memories but me. And it was kind of like, oh. And I guess that's right, because he was just so young when his father passed. And he hears all these people like us all talking about the memories of his dad, and he doesn't have any. So, yeah, but I think it was very good that he got up and actually did something. I think that was very healthy that he actually did get up and did a little interview. But yes, they did a good job of it. I have no complaints about them. And like I said, they thanked me because look, they're still doing it. They're still doing what, Tales of the Territory or something today or something. But that was the pilot episode that started their careers.
yeah, and and someone is also touching in. I think you put it up
Put
as
it back up.
yeah, uh, coming over there.
This one. or the
Well, I mean, there was one previously, and I was doing some research here, but I'll just briefly mention it. But someone had left a comment up here saying that well,
this one
Bruce, yeah, they should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. He actually
already.
He
is.
is.
Yes.
You want me? Maybe I should not. I'm sitting here one day looking at, going through Facebook, whatever, and it said, "Congratulations to Bruiser Brody and going to the WWE Hall of Fame." I went, "Oh, somebody's making a joke." Somebody else said something. I said, I won't even say what I said. What the, But
Right.
no, nobody's told me. Nobody. I don't know anything about this. Well, then I found out that they just threw him in the WWE of Fame. What is it? Legacy
Yes.
part
Yeah,
of it that means nothing.
yeah, I know.
Next thing, I went to Charlotte on what is it on the Charlotte show, The Gathering,
Mm-hmm.
and I met Karen McDaniel, Wahoo McDaniel's widow, for the first time. First thing she said to me, "Did you get anything from the WWE?" I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, Wahoo was in the same time that Frank was in. She was mad, they never contacted me. They never did anything. So both of us, we, kind of bonded because both of us, Wahoo and Frank Bruiser, both went into that Legacy Hall of Fame. Nothing, just nothing, just boom, meant nothing. So, yeah.
Yeah. And when I'm looking at this legacy list, there's actually a lot of great wrestlers that are in this legacy list.
Majority of them are great. Like, not even majority.
Yeah.
All of them.
I mean, and like what Barbara said, Wahoo McDaniel is one. I mean, let's see, even Gary Hart, even as a manager and a wrestler. I mean, Dick the Bruiser. I mean, come on. Let's see,
But
Lou Thez. They put
guys,
Lou Thez in the legacy. I mean, are you kidding me?
and
I mean,
guys, that's what's the difference between and I'm going to just say it.
say it.
It's BS. It's the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame actually means more to the business than what the WWE does, because just like that prime example, there are people that should be in that Hall of Fame. It's not even a brick and mortar Hall of Fame, and that's why the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame, it's got meaning. We don't have the chauffeur driver in it. We don't have, any of the other people who didn't go out there and bust their butts, the actors. The Hall of Fame, I think, needs to mean something. Larry and I and Nick and Keith Childreth and just a couple other ones, when we sat down, we let the first three people we inducted into our Hall of Fame, we let the fans do it. And then it got to be more of a headache. It became a full-time job. So then we went to just the stats that Larry had kept, which I have all of them now. We're up to 44, and that's why on May 13th, we're inducting Jerry Briscoe and J.J. Dillon into the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame. Two people that I can, without a doubt, tell you they belong in a Hall of Fame here. And Jerry Briscoe is just so excited. J.J. is so excited. Jerry's so excited, he's bringing JBL to do the induction. And of course, they picked me to induct JJ. So,
Yeah,
Of course,
right.
JJ, And
JJ's
another
my friend.
thing, they've just started the Sam Muchnick Award, and I was very, very honored, and they shocked me and very surprised last May when I received the first Sam Muchnick Award. Now, this year is one of the greatest fans that belongs to wrestling. Darla Staggs is the one that's going to be in, and Herb can tell you a little more about it.
Yeah. Well, and back to the deal of the Hall of Fame. If you remember a few years back when Larry was still with us, they were having a show in St. Louis, and they wanted some of the legends to come in and be a part of it. I'm the one that got the phone call from the WWE. They wanted Larry Matisek to be up here that night. Baron von Raschke was going to be there, and I think Ted DiBiase and a few other ones that meant so much to St. Louis wrestling at the Chase. Well, when I told them that Larry would be more than honored to be there, and I told him that I'd have to bring him over because at that time Larry was in the wheelchair, and the minute I mentioned that to him, it was a week later, I get a call from the lady saying, well, after due consideration and a liability issue with him being in a wheelchair, we can't have him be present. And again, you know, there was no secret that when Larry left WWE, it was on bad terms, but don't call and ask to have him there. And then when you find out that he's, you know, in a wheelchair, then all of a sudden he's not good enough to be there. And that offended a lot of the fans, which I'm glad. And because, you know, it would have been nice to have Larry sitting there at ringside during that event. But so it doesn't surprise me that Frank didn't get a big mention to other, you know, because I remember calling you that day, Barb, because I saw it and said, oh, they're putting Frank in the Hall of Fame. And you said, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. and to this day, I don't think they've ever called and told you anything about it.
No, not a word. Same as Karen McDaniel. Not a word. Nothing.
So,
well, let's just say there is a stride difference between a wrestling Hall of Fame up in Waterloo, Iowa, and then you have a WWE Hall of Fame. Okay, so Luthez goes in legacy, but now let's give a spot to the Bella twins.
yeah.
Out of my life. Who needs you? Beat it. Leave me alone.
No one
Hey, they
cares.
left. It's okay. It's okay. They left. Remember? They left.
Yeah.
Yeah, who cares? So, but you know what? We're kind of we're actually going to go into a little segment here, and we've been doing this lately with all of our guests here, and hopefully just to get our watchers, listeners, whatever, they like to participate, or at least not participate, but kind of watch what we do here, because we like to have we always like to have a little fun, you know, and it's just, you know, a little laugh, you know, coming here. But this week it's time for this week's Wrestling's Gold Memes, everybody. And we're kind of start. We may go kind of dad jokish here, knowing the way how Zach explains it here. But it's off of John Cena waking up in a hospital asking, "Where am I?" The nurse says, "ICU," and John says, "No, you can't." I know. That's a little corny.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I haven't seen that one. there you go, Herb. My son was running around the house the other day doing that. My youngest.
I see you running. Stop. Oh, and for our next one, with King Kong Bundy. Oh, him. He's the one who ate my cheeseburger. If you're going to look like that one, but hey, Bundy was something fierce in the ring. When he got between those ropes, he was something else. I mean, one of the quick, he moved really quick for his size.
Agile big dude, yes.
Very agile big guy. Very, very much so. How about we're going to try and go a little bit more old school here. How about this? Two guys walk into a bar, everyone leaves. Especially if they're the road warriors.
That's a terrifying photo.
It is. You walk into a bar like that, no one wants to stick around.
If you went back a little bit further, that was Brody and Stan Hansen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, that's scary. That just gave me chills.
Yeah. Two guys tough as nails. Guys, what a tag match that I would have loved to see there if it was even possible. Those guys could throw. I'm sorry, they really could. Let's see. Well, let's see. We got a few more here. What's our next one? Oh yeah, how you like this?
Yes.
This next new wolf character diving down this cage. Everyone, Nicolas Cage.
That makes me so happy.
I knew you'd like that. Oh my lord! I know. I had to throw that in there because you're a big DDP fan.
I am a big DDP fan. Very big.
Nicolas Cage takes over the body of DDP. There you go. Doing the yoga there. The diamond. I don't know. I haven't watched the yoga tapes. The yoga DVDs in so long. It's been a while. I'm gonna have to look at that again. And let's see. How about this next one? Oh yeah, no parents leave me alone at home, and no parties while we're gone. Then 5 minutes after they're gone,
Macho Man in the trumpet. Who else we got? We got Mr. Perfect on base. Jake the Snake, it looks like.
Snake on, yeah, all three of them are on trumpet. Macho
Who's the
Man.
middle one?
Isn't that Bruce Beefcake?
Is it? Oh, it is.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Never mind.
Jake.
That's funny.
And probably a lot of us can adapt to this here in this day and age with this last one here. My Charger on the other side of the room and Lincoln Hogan here. Me and him with 1% phone battery. Hogan with the phone in his hand. Trying to reach out for the battery.
Some good
little
ones.
simple humor this week. Trying to
Some
go a little
good
old
ones.
school. Oh my god. That's classic. I love it. Oh, then of course Brutus. There's Brutus again.
Man, get in the Charger, man.
To Charger, get over here. Oh shoot. All right, so that's it for this week's Golden Memes, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed them. Hopefully you got a little bit of a good laugh, a little bit of a good cry. You know, if you enjoy, if you a little bit of laughter, tear, that was good for everybody here. But I'm gonna digress here. We're gonna kind of go back here to where I'm going to talk about a little bit with Brody here, and I know we were kind of mentioning the year of 1988, and I got a little since Barbara's here, I wanted to kind of shed a little personal story of mine, and kind of a little bit of a regret, but as it was March of '88, and we happened to be looking through the papers around here in town where we lived around St. Louis County, and apparently we got word that Bruiser Brody was going to be at like some type of baseball card memorabilia shop or whatever it was. He was going to make an appearance there, and it was like roughly like about 5 minutes from my house, and I had to beg Dad to go and see, because I wanted to see what want to see this big guy in person, because I want to see what he was all about. Well, I was like 13 at the time, still a huge I guess you say avid wrestling fan, and it's still pretty marked to the business. And then I went in and I saw him, and man, I'll tell you, it was probably one of the truer sights to behold, because that man has put himself through so much, and I could see, and obviously you've seen it every day after or the times that he came home. But man, it's just the man with his forehead and how it was scarred and cut. I looked at that, I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, God dang. But no, and the thing is, I did meet him. I did get to shake his hand, and I did get an autograph. But the sad part about it is, like, some years later, it somehow skipped out of my memorabilia box somehow, and I didn't have it. But it's okay though. It's okay, but because I got all these right here, and I know exactly where it's at. I mean, the place is still up. I mean, it's not a shop anymore, but at least I know where I met him at. But it's just amazing how, and I couldn't go to that show that he was going to be at that night because I was on an all day and night baseball tournament, and I was like, gosh, I wanted to talk my dad out of it, because I was like, man, our team's like 1-10. Doesn't matter if we're gonna. It's like, we're not gonna get past this tournament anyway. Who cares? But no, I had to go. I had to be part of the team and do team activities, and I missed the show. But apparently, I missed the bar burner between him and Abdullah, of course.
Oh.
But kind of going back, and I kind of want to ask Herb this, because I think, I've heard, and maybe you and I talked about this maybe in the past here, Herb. But after that day in July, and I'm not going to bring up much about it, because there's been a whole documentary, Dark Side of the Ring, people. If you actually got the Roku channel on like a Roku device and it was on Fire Stick, it's on there for free. You can go play, you can go watch it. Go watch the documentary if you haven't already. There's no excuse for you not to see it. So go find it, watch it. It's good. Okay, trust me. Like I said, pilot episode. Go find it.
Also, the book will tell you all about it too.
Yeah, the book will tell all you about it too. And that is somewhere else. my office got cramped, and I think I packed that in the wrong box, and it's somewhere downstairs. I couldn't find it, but I do have it though, and I have read it. So, um, but her kind of getting back, you've actually possibly thought about maybe not even continuing in the business after that happened. So, what kind of take us through on the turning point that made you decide to continue on in the business and pursue in the industry even after what had happened?
Well, it was no secret that that was a turning point of what I felt that I needed to do, and it was just devastated. I mean, I remember, like I said, the week before that weekend, Frank had spent the entire weekend with us, and I've still got pictures of that celebration of the fans coming to the restaurant. And he was always so pleasant to meet the fans. I don't care how many times. And he was good about remembering their names and where they sat at the shows. And so that whole weekend was something special for us. That Sunday night before he was going to leave the next morning, him and Larry and myself and a couple of the bartenders and a couple of our personal friends, we just sit around and had a few social cocktails and talked about the business. And I'll never forget one of the things that him and I talked about sitting there with Larry was, I said, Frank, you're traveling all over, and the business is the way it is. And aren't you worried? You got to, your family you got to think of. And he said, yeah, but it's my life. I have to do it. And then here we are, 7 days later, I'm at the Whitey Herzog Beer Garden down at Union Station when Larry calls me. And of course, back then you had these little small pagers that, you couldn't leave a voicemail. You could just leave a number. And Larry's number 234-8814. That number is embedded in my mind until I get the deadly illness of Alzheimer's or something. I'll always remember it. So I go to the phone and I call him, and he is just out of it. I mean, he just can't believe it. And I'm thinking it's a plane crash or something. And but then when he tells me the story, but that was the turning point where I just didn't want to do it anymore. As I said earlier, Frank and I had some extensive talks of future business things with Larry, and we were all hoping that was going to materialize. And as Barbara said, he was well on the way of getting things lined up and getting ready to do some things, and with his connections. But so there was about a period of a year that I didn't do any shows, and if it hadn't have been for a few people, namely Larry Matasek, my good friend, my attorney back then, and then Tony Costa, who you know from South Broadway Athletic Club, and a few other ones that just said, hey, Frank would not want you to quit doing what you've been doing. So it took me a while to regather, I guess, my ego and say, you're probably right. And of course, Larry and I had some long talks. I never heard Larry say crossword to anybody other than to me. And that was usually over matches or his idea of booking, and me, who thought I was the guy who knew everything. And but then come to find out, I had to eat crow. And I always told him, I don't mind eating crow as long as I have a little something to say about how it's cooked. And
Right.
so we would always, and it's okay to have constructive criticism, and I learned that even more from him. But and he was another one that just said, hey, you got to keep going. Frank wouldn't want it, and so I did. And to this day, I'm so glad that I did, because I think that kind of helped stir the interest of keeping Frank's legacy alive. And of course, when Larry first introduced me to Barbara, I mean, that was, you talk about a match made in heaven. I mean, she has just been the greatest. She clears her schedule for us anytime I've ever needed her. And And I told her, as long as I've got breath left in me, Frank's legacy is going to live on. And I think we're doing a good job of doing that. But it couldn't be done without her help, without her blessing, because I've never done anything that I haven't called her and said, hey, I want to do this. I remember Frank's sister, Gail. Remember that, Barbara? The first time I met her, she didn't like me. She thought I was kind of using her brother to benefit myself. And man, but now I just love Gail, and we all love her. And but that's how some people perceive things, because they think you're out there using it, and there's a lot of people out there making Bruiser Brody shirts. And every time I see that happen, I call Barbara and I said, hey, do you know anything about who these people are doing this? If not, I call them and say, hey, knock the crap off, unless you get Barbara and Jeffrey's okay. I mean, that's their property, basically. And there's a few groups that she's working with, but they should not be trying to make money off of a situation like that without the family's permission. But see, I was out of it for about a year, but then we quickly got back into it. And so, like I said, the rest it's been a great ride. And it's when you can sit and have conversation like this with you guys and Barbara, it stirs my belief that all things happen for a reason. I'll never understand why that happened. Nobody will. There's many different stories out there, and I tell people that I get asked all the time, you ought to write a book. And I say, well, I wouldn't know how to do that. I'll leave that to the people like Barbara and Larry and all of those that have written books. But I said I do have a title for it if I do, and it would be called The Man, the Myth, the Fool.
Ooh, I like that.
But again, there would be several chapters that would be definitely on what knowledge I have of what all surrounded that whole deal. And it's really for nobody to know other than a few people. But
I mean, I'd read that book just alone to see what potentially you guys had planned if that never happened.
Oh yeah, it would. I can tell you, when you hear us, whether it be his lovely widow Barbara or myself or anybody who knew Frank, another guy that just mesmerized me is Stan Malarian Hansen, and that's why if you make it, which I know you guys are, because you're a sponsor of the May 13th, but Stan is going to join us. But him and I actually sat in Vegas one year, and we got together like 6 o'clock in the morning at TGI Fridays. We ate breakfast, we ate lunch, and we ate dinner. The only time we got up was go to the bathroom. And finally, it was like, we haven't went nowhere. We've sat here all day long. And this man the stories that he told me over in Japan with him and Frank and how things happen, they were good friends. And and there was a few people out there that Frank entrusted in, and Stan was one of them. And so I just think that Frank he'd have been on top of the world, and Larry and I would have been at the bottom of the line, just going along for the ride, because he had it pretty well laid out.
Yeah, he did. Because, as you said, who knows how far he would have been, because I know when you were starting to do the shows, starting to start up another organization. And I know like you said, you had the world in your hands. Who knows where it would have gone? I know you were stepping on some toes.
Yeah.
Maybe a few more toes.
Well, it got to the point where I didn't have, because you guys have been in it, Ricky, I know you've been in it a long time, and you've heard all those horror stories, but the business was tough back then. I mean, the territorial days, and when I was a new company started, one of the biggest problems I had was with Dick the Bruiser. And it took me a while to have a meeting of the mind with him. And but then after that, after he found out that I I could pick up the phone and call Frank Brody or Dick Murdoch or Jerry Blackwell or Greg Valentine. The odds got stacked against him, and then him and I became friends. And my first
My sword's bigger.
my first encounter my
Sorry.
my first encounter with him was in Indianapolis. He invited me up to the show, and he used to run all of that Southern Illinois area, and then I started running it, and that's how protective promoters were back then. And my booker and I went up there to meet with him, and he had this brainstorm where we were going to be partners, and it was going to be like a 90-10 split. And I told him, I said, I don't need 90%. And he said, no, you got that wrong. And I said, no, you got it wrong. Why would I want 10% of something that I've got 100% of right now? And but we had a nice get together, and of course we were a little scared at first because we were outnumbered that night. But Frank was a big part of telling me how to overcome that, and because him and Dick the Bruiser had issues where he knocked Bruiser over a bench in a locker room in Peoria, Illinois, and so yeah. So
Not a locker room I would want to be in.
No,
run.
Those two bulls, hell, oh no.
Yeah, or the time when they had a show in Arnold, Missouri, the Kansas City group was promoting a big match between Bruiser Brody and the Missing Link, and they had built it up on TV for several months, and Frank had already told Larry and I, said, I'm not going to be there. And I mean, it was a sellout crowd at the Fox High School gymnasium, and he said, Herb, you ought to go to that. And he said, see what they say about me when I don't show up that night. And so what did Herb do? I went, and I'm sitting in the audience, and people are all saying, man, we came to see Brody. He's going to tear into the Missing Link. And I said, well, he's not going to be here tonight. Well, yeah, he's going to be here. And Terry Garvin was the ring announcer, and he came out at the start of the show and welcomed everybody, and they did the national anthem and said, well, we have a special announcement to make. And Bruiser Brody was unable to get us connecting flight to be here tonight, but for your convenience and for your benefit, we're going to throw on a battle royal. And everybody's looking at me like, how did you know Bruiser Brody wasn't going to be here tonight? So, but that's because the Kansas City group had messed him up on a payday. And that was one thing with Frank. You don't do that, So
Herb, I think the best match you had, and I just saw a picture the other day, was at the racetrack.
Oh,
Frank
yeah.
with the jockey on his back, racing a horse.
That picture is
just brilliant.
That picture has been out there forever and ever, and that was Frank's idea, because he always said, we got to have the hook. I said, you're my hook. I don't need no other hooks. No, you just listen to what I'm telling you. And that's the night the day we had him against Ox Baker, and I told that story just the other day. Ox had trouble seeing a lot of times, and we were at the Fairmount Park racetrack, and the dressing room was the tack room, and here's all these little jockeys in there, and then here's all these Ox Baker, Brody, we had Spike Huber, we had Tojo Yamamoto, Gypsy Joe, Frank Morrell. They're all crammed in this tack room, and so they go out for this, and it's a great crowd at the park track. And I was standing at ringside, and Frank and Ox Baker, and I'm sure you guys watched some of Ox's matches before, and he was a big guy, but he was limited to what he could do. But with Frank always made him look good, and towards the end of the match, Frank throws him out of the ring, and I'm standing right at ringside by the post, and he grabs me by my shirt and tie, and Ox hauls off and clobbers me aside the head and knocks my glasses off. And I mean, I'm seeing stars. I'm ready my knees are buckling. And so the match goes on, double DQ outside the ring. And Frank does this wild thing, and Ox goes to the back of the tack room, and Frank's doing his thing. And by the time I get my senses and I walk into that tack room, and Ox is in there just laughing his butt off. And he said, I don't know who that guy was standing at the ringside, but I sure clobbered him a good one. And Frank and Larry sitting over there, and a few of the other boys said, well, guess what? You just worked for free today, because that was Herb. Which he did, and I paid him, but he did. He clobbered me a good one. And up until Ox was with us 30 days before he passed away, and we talked about that, and he remembered it, So, but guys like that you just meet, you make friends with, and it was all because of Frank Brody, Goodish.
Man, I'll tell you. Oh, we get smacked by Ox Baker out of nowhere. Oh gosh!
And believe me, that tape they wrap around their wrist, that don't soften the blow.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
That's what boxers use to make sure their shots are getting there pretty solid.
I was going to say it's not meant to soften it.
But we had another show at the Dupo. We had one there with him and John Nard, and then we had one at the Dupo High School. And the one at the high school was on the outside track and at the football field. And it started raining that night. And I thought, man, what are we going to do? It's raining, and they keep on wrestling, and they're doing their thing, and the fans didn't leave. I mean, the wrestling fans are diehard fans, You got Bruiser Brody and John Nord, the Barbarian. And we got back, they dressed in the field house, and I went over and I said, man, what do you guys, why didn't you come in out of the rain? They said, are you nuts? Man, did you see them? Ain't one fan left. We couldn't leave, I had another match at the Assumption High School, which is a prison now. During that match, Storm comes in, knocks the fire out, and it's Killer Tim Brooks against Bruiser Brody. And I'm thinking, oh, man, what's going to happen? And you hear them hitting their mats and the ropes, and I went in the back. I said, you guys didn't have to do that. You could have stayed. He said, well, are you crazy? We're just going to stop. We're out there beating the hell out of one another. And then they did. The lights come back on, and they're still going at it. So that's wrestling.
Right.
That was back when I was young and dumb and didn't know a lot.
Oh, my goodness. So my next question is actually going to be here for Barbara. And once again, we're going to turn our focus once again here to the memorial battle royal here. So Barbara, when you were approached by her in SICW wanting to start a memorial, to Brody with the annual Memorial Cup, kind of take us through your emotions on that and your feelings when you got the news, and how we're continuing to keep doing it from every year since it started.
Well, Herb and I have always been in touch. One of the few people, Herb, Larry, Stan Hansen, and a few other ones, but those are three main ones that after everything happened, that they kept in touch with me. I kind of got away from wrestling for a very long time. I kind of, chilled out, raised my son, and then Herb approached me, Larry and Herb. When they approached me, Herb said, I would love to do an annual Bruiser Brody memorial. What are your feelings about that? All I can say, I think I told him, I said, of course, I am very, very honored that you are still keeping his memory alive, and especially in a place that he loved. So I was very honored. And then every year, and like Herbert just said, that as long as he's there, he is going to keep the annual Bruiser Brody Memorial, the second weekend in May, every year. So Herb knows how I feel. I love Herb, his family. They have been so good to me. I wished I was closer and could see them more. But even doing something like this, I feel like I'm visiting. So as Herb knows, I am so grateful to you. I'm grateful for your friendship. I'm grateful for how you were with Frank. I mean, he'd come home and he never had a problem. I mean, sometimes he came home, he was an old grouch, you know what I mean, because of different things. And he came home from St. Louis or anywhere that he was with you guys, you and Larry, Sam, it was like a whole different person, because he knew there was not going to be any trouble. Whenever he was around you, there was not going to be any trouble. Every other time, it was, am I going to get my check? Am I going to do that? What are they going to do with the finish? How are they going to use? Because all he wanted to do was to make the fans, like I've said this before, make the fans believable and make the fans have a good time. And he knew how to do it, and he knew how not to do it so the fans wouldn't leave not happy. He knew how to work. He knew how to make a match. He knew how to bring the audience in. So, yes, as I said, Herb, thank you. And I'm so looking forward to May the 13th and in a new location this time, too. The Avatar, is that how you pronounce it?
Aviator.
Avatar,
Mhm.
Aviator, my accent, Aviator, Ballroom. Hey, in St. Louis. And I'm hoping that anyone watching this, I mean, please, please come. I love to meet everybody. We even have people from Canada coming down. Ross Hart, part of the Hart family, is coming. And as I said, the people that are going to be there are absolutely incredible when you think about it. Jerry Briscoe, I mean, Bushwhacker Luke. I mean, we don't have time to go through all the wonderful people that are going to be there. John Nord, which I'm so happy to see again. He has lots of stories on Frank as well. And it's just, I said, every time you announce something, Spike Huber, which I haven't seen for a long, long time. I always remember my photo with him way, way back in the old days. And as I said, uh, it's just too many names. Oh, Greg Gagne is going to be there. J.J. Dillon, who I'm looking forward to seeing again, and his daughter, Pam, who I'm looking forward to seeing again. And I mean, I could go on and on. There's just so many great people. It's going to be like a family reunion to be able to see so many of these people that I haven't seen for so long. That, and you guys, if you come, hey, I get to meet you guys, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Everybody's going to see our face when they come in the door. And like I said, I'm going to have a busy day myself. And told the story many times weeks prior for those who are weak. And the night before, I'm actually being the best man in his wedding that Friday night before. So definitely no alcohol for me. And because I will be,
Oh, I was going to buy you a drink.
oh, well, that's
Yes.
Saturday. That's Saturday. Friday, I can't do anything. I mean, I got to watch over the groom and make sure he's not making a donkey out of himself. But no, it's just we're going to be out there in the lobby the entire time, trying to interact. Hopefully, to get some of the legends and guests to come over, maybe do maybe 5 or 10 minute spot. Maybe go live on our all of our feeds, and for those who are in the lobby can watch. I mean, that's kind of the talk that we like to do right now. We got to go through the test run of that, but then after that, we're going to have the big St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame, and then of course the big wrestling show. And I will say that I am one of what 16 that have been announced to her that's going to be in that ring battling for that cup. So I will be in there competing for it. So
Well, I got to tell you that Battle Royal is. When I say there's been some sleepless nights over this thing, there has been, because um, if we don't end up with, and I don't know, I got to come up with a way of how to do it, but there's probably going to be about 25 entrants into that Battle Royal. Dory Funk Jr. is sending up some of his talent from the Funk Conservatory.
Sick.
wow.
It is just growing, and real quickly, and Barbara and I have talked about this. This thing started off. I was going to have, Nick and I was going to have, maybe a half a dozen of the legends come in, and just for the 50th year, just kind of do something a little special. And the reason why we moved it over to South County is that we knew some people would come from out of town and need the hotel rooms. And when I say this thing grew legs, I mean, it grew a lot of legs. And I mean, as I sit here tonight, there's probably maybe even 2 or 3 more names that's going to be added. I mean, yesterday we added one of the guys that I think is just awesome, and that's Rip Rogers. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Rip.
Yeah.
This guy he's phenomenal. And then Scott Romer, one of the guys, not only, was with Dick the Bruiser's organization, But this guy has filmed queens and kings and Muhammad Ali and all kinds of actors and presidents, and just Scott's an all-around great guy. And of course today, it's kind of like with Barbara being there. I got the confirmation that Pat Matasek will be joining us, so her picture will be going up on the poster here shortly, because she's another one that I dearly love, and I want her to be a part of this like she is every year. But she's had a few health issues, but she says no. If Barbara and Darla and all of them's coming, I want to be there. So she'll be joining us, and then of course Darla, we started talking about her a while ago. She better be there because she's getting that Sam Muchnick Award this year, and he's excited about that, and we're excited about it. And she's, as I told you, she's the one that she attended her first match when she was back in 1959, when her dad held her in his arms as Pat O'Connor beat Dick Hutton for the NWA title at Gill Auditorium. And he's running around the ring with her in his arms, and it was her. I think she's been at every one since. And she serves on the executive board of Cauliflower Alley, and so rightly so. Barbara won the award. We surprised her with it last year, and so that's something else, because again, Sam, there is no wrestling at the Chase Memories without Sam Muchnick. Right. The 64 years, we always try to tie it in together. And, we call it the Bruiser Brody Memorial. And then when Larry passed away, I added his name. I called Barbara, and of course, right away, yes. And of course, there's been some issues that you guys I know, Rick, you've probably heard, well, why is Tony Costa's name? Well, I can tell you why. Tony Costa was a good friend to Bruiser Brody, to Larry Matasek, and to me. And I don't give a shit what anybody else says. It's his son has said that I can use his name to put on there because it's in memories of what Tony Costa meant to wrestling in St. Louis. Nice. And so we called it the Larry Matasek, the Bruiser Brody, Larry Matasek, and Tony Costa Memorial. And that's the way it's going to be. If nobody likes it, I don't care. The man done so much, and you've seen the one picture there. Frank would call me, and he would say, "Hey, is my little buddy going to be on this card?" And I knew who he was talking about right away. And same way with Gary Jackson. Gary Jackson got the nickname Night Train from Bruiser Brody, and those are two guys that Frank really liked, and so that's why Tony is on there. And then, wrestling at the Chase started in 1959 and ran till 1983. And if it had stayed on TV, this would have been the 64th year of it. So we'll be playing some of the old wrestling at the Chase tapes that day, and it'll be fun.
So bouncing off that nice little intro you gave me with Tony Costa, describe some of like your promotion partnership for promotion. Together when you guys were running down the roads for Midwest Missouri Wrestling Alliance and whatnot. What some of the stories or some of the fun memories that you two gentlemen had?
The one that always sticks out, I mean, there's so many of them. Him and I ran, we used to run 4 or 5 nights a week, everything from the Boot Hills of the Missouri all the way up to the Indianapolis borders. That's where the conflict that came in with the Bruiser and I. And Tony was my champion, junior heavyweight champion quite often. And but I had a 1977 Lincoln Continental back then that we rode around in, and the wives would sit in the back seat. And a lot of those trips, him and I would be driving down the road trying to figure out what song to have as his interest music. And one day the song Can't Keep a Good Man Down came on, and boy, we looked at one another and said, that's it, because you are a good man, and you're a little guy, little dynamite, and we always said dynamite comes in small packages. And so that was his theme song. And but we did a show in Rolla, Missouri. I had sent my front guy in, who at that time was my ring announcer. The week before, he stayed down there, and they were promoting it. He was giving me daily reports about, hey, things are going good. And I'd call Tony and say, "Hey, it looks like it's going to be a good show." And we had Frank on that show. We had Spike Huber. We had some boys from Bill Ash was on that card. The Fantastics were on it, and man, we were all geared up. And we head down that way, and we pull into town. And one of the first things you start doing is you start looking to see what type of advertisement is out. As it says, your gas station's got it out on their marquee. Is there any posters in the local convenience shops? And we stopped at a couple of them. We don't see nothing about no wrestling happening. And I said, this is a bad sign. And so we make it to the place. And my front guy had actually called me the day before and said, "Boss, you ain't going to believe it. They're actually bussing in 2 busloads of people from the local nursing home here, that assisted living centers." And he said, "That's going to be their night out. They're coming to wrestling." I said, "Oh, great. That'll be good. We'll give them a good show." So we get there, everybody shows up, and man, the closer it's getting to bell time, your hands start sweating. And because, I mean, you got a big nut you got to crack. And I look out there, and there's 11 people sitting in the audience. 11 people. And so I went back and told Frank and Huber, those were my 2 guys. We were coming to St. Louis the next night. And I told them, I said, "You guys go on and back." And they said, "No, we'll go out there and do it. Those 11 fans paid." I said, "No, you ain't doing it." I said, "We'll handle it." So they went ahead and went on to St. Louis. We had hotels for them. The guys went out there and did their show. But and then on the way back, it was a long drive. It was longer driving home than it was driving down there, of course. And I'll never forget, Tony says, "Hey, why don't we stop and get something to eat?" And I looked at him and I said, "Because I ain't got no money." I had to pay everybody. He said, "I got you covered. Go ahead." So we stopped at the little restaurant we found and got something to eat. But, think memories like that, driving up to Waseca, Illinois. I was working with a promoter up there that ended up trying to stiff all of us. And Tony, and when I say Dynamite comes in small packages, he got that guy's attention real quickly. And Fred was his name, and I'll leave it at that. But before we left Waseca, Illinois, we had our money.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Tony will always be the guy. And I got pictures of him and I. We used to go out to eat, play bingo together, and he's the one that taught me how to spell bingo. Yeah, him and his wife were big bingo players, and but I miss him and his wife Wanda every day. There's rumors out there, but if anybody wants to know, just have them call me. I'm the easiest guy to find. I mean, I couldn't spell. I didn't know what Facebook was until a few years ago, and now they tell me I'm the Facebook guru. So him and I are friends, and we're friends, and we did business together, and I miss him. And some people will try to tell you that that's not true, but those are the people who weren't even around back then.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, at least I got a chance to work for Tony Costa for a short bit toward the end of his run, and then get in that historic building for a while, which is, I mean, you can feel the nostalgia, you can feel the history and everything else once you wrestle in there. And Tony had done a lot of good, and it's good to have road stories. I mean, have good road memories. I mean, because when you go from town to town, if you're touring, even if it's weekend after weekend after weekend, and trust me, I gathered a lot of my stories in my early 20s, and I'm going to leave it at that. But there's a, I mean, there's just all the memories that you can make, with the group you travel with, the guys that you do shows with, and even with the fans that happen to run into you afterwards, where you didn't think you were going to run into a fan, and then you have to, back in the day, you turn on a switch somewhat, but there'll be, me being a kind of a bad guy, or at least kind of arrogant back then. I wasn't that arrogant, but still, it's like, I blame the alcohol or whatever back then.
And what a few people don't understand is that South Broadway Athletic Club, MMWA, and SICW. I mean, there's posters out there. We had our name on the posters. We had our name hanging up in the building together. I had some surgery done back in 2007, and three people that was standing there when I woke up was Tony Costa and his wife, and a gentleman back in the day, a good friend of ours, Big Daddy. And Barbara, I know you know Big Daddy. So, those are memories that you never forget. And those are people you never forget because they weren't phony. They were true friends that when you called them, they're going to tell you, you may not always like what they tell you, but they're going to be respectful to you and tell you. And that's what I said all along. When Tony got his collarbone broke at South Broadway Athletic Club, I'm the one that put him in the ambulance and took him to the hospital and got surgery lined up for him. When his wife was sick, I went over and she'd been laying in the emergency room for 8 hours, and we went over and was able to help pull some string and get her a room. So that's friends. That ain't. I tell people all the time, you can probably count true friends on one hand. I mean, people claim to be friends, but they're not true friends. And but Tony Costa was a true friend. Very good with the business. He was another one that him and I would agree to disagree sometimes on the business, but he would call me. And there was a point you guys probably remember when everybody thought him and I split up. It was kind of like the NWO. And I always told him, I said, we need to let everybody know what's going on. No. He said, man, this thing is great. People thought that him and I had heat. Well, we were talking every day. He was calling me about his card, and I was helping him put it together. And he was asking me about different angles that he wanted to run. And but it was probably a bigger work than the NWA was. So here locally, I mean, but that's how some people think they want to know, and they really don't.
Yeah. So now we've, like I said, we're coming down towards the end here. So once again, I think this is the updated poster. I know that when we were start posting, guests to be at this fan fest, there was a skyline, there was a hotel there, but now there's not. Whether we're gonna, I don't know if
that's not the updated one.
Yeah, I don't think
You're a
so,
couple
too.
behind there, no, because we put Rip Rogers on there yesterday and Scott Romer, and,
Right.
And then, like I said, there will be, if things go okay, there will be a few more before the final one is put out, and then that final one will be available on May 13th. The people can purchase, and they can have all the legends sign them, and so it's sooner or later I got to cut it off. Otherwise, it's just going to be a mirage of pictures there. But again, it grew legs, and I've had people tell me, some of the legends have said that it's probably the biggest thing that's been in this area ever. I've had people tell me it's bigger than what the NWA 73 and NWA 74 was, and I was at both of them, and I enjoyed them, and I wish that we could have tied up with them and done something either back then like that, because I think it would have made it that much of a bigger impact too. But right now, we're kind of flying solo, and as Barb said, I hope that the fans will come out and support it, because regardless of what I decide to do moving forward, somebody will pick up the torch and run with it. And I think St. Louis needs something like this. The region does, because they have them all over. And why not St. Louis here?
Right. And like I said, I've never known, at least in this area, and trust me, I've been a wrestling fanatic for nearly 40 years now. I have never seen anything like this.
Now, the closest thing was 2012. Larry and I was part of that one at St. Charles, and we ended up with 22 legends on that. But it wasn't what we got here. That was just strictly a meet and greet. We had our ring there set up they use for photo ops. But Jimmy Snuka was there, the Briscoes, the Funks, Kamala, his handler Friday, and I don't know if either one of you know who Friday was then, but if you didn't, I'll tell you someday. Um, because we got him the job. So, but Greg Gagne was there, and there was 22 of them there then. And like I said, I think if my figures are right, we're just right at 40 in this one here, with a few more to go, counting the special guest that's going to be joining us. And then, my plans that afternoon is to do a little question and answer, because I think the fans like to come and talk to some of these legends and ask questions, just kind of like we're doing here tonight, and hearing it right out of the horse's mouth. And so we're going to try to work that in that afternoon, and then we're going to do the that evening the Hall of Fame. Like I said, JBL is going to be there, and he'll be out there throughout the day signing autographs. And then that night he'll do the honors of inducting Jerry Briscoe, and then J.J. Dillon will get him inducted, and then we'll start off with the wrestling card. And like I said, I was a little scared of how many people I had for the Battle Royal, and then I got to count them up, and I listed them, and I thought, wow. And then I've got Dory sending me his, and so it may be one of those deals where if somebody gets eliminated, we'll send somebody else in, because so you can't put 30 guys in a Battle Royal, at least in a 16 by 16 ring,
Oh my God! I was gonna say, if you're putting 25 in there, one word:
Yeah.
reinforcements. Because people joke about the wrestling ring being a trampoline, but if you got 25 guys, especially guys that are not all of them are small, that ring's gonna be bouncing, and it's not gonna be it's not gonna be good for the health of a ring. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, and I've got guys coming from Texas that's going to be in it. The phone has been bringing, and of course I'm as you know, Rick, I'm selective. I don't just need guys to come one time a year. You want to come in and be on a big show, you got to come in and be on some of the other shows throughout the year. So I'm going to take care of the guys who are, I got the greatest locker room around, as I tell everybody, and they get first choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you were one of the first two or three that when I contacted, and you said, "Yeah, throw my hat in the ring," because you missed it by about this much last time.
Oh yeah, that was the big two-ring battle royal. I was I was a hair short of becoming the first ever Central States champion. But hey, it is what it is. But I'll tell you, it's going to be phenomenal how that's going to work out. It may have to be kind of like I don't know, maybe Rumble style. I don't know, but I'm not the one booking the match. So
well,
I know is
there's one thing about it. My booker and I have been spending some hours of going over things, and he's pulling his hair out. And but come May 13th, it will all and that was our goal from the get go on this. Was I wanted one to be feasible for the fans. I want it to be fan friendly. I want it to be as smooth as possible, even though it's wrestling. We know things will become haywire probably as we get closer. But I wanted the fans to be able to come and then be able to. I wanted to start promoting it early enough where fans could start saving their funds to get the autographs and that they want from their favorites, And but then I just want it to be a fun time that people's going to leave there and say, this is one hell of a show, and boy, we can't wait for it to come back.
Yeah, so I know, and as far as take us through with like I said, you're probably feeling a whole bunch of you're feeling nervous, you're feeling kind of uneasy because there's a lot going on. Trust me, this is something that's really, really huge. And
here's I know what you're going to ask me. So here's what I'm going to tell you. If your phone starts ringing the day before and it's my number, don't answer it, because I'll just be asking for a loan.
Or do a pledge. Let's do an online pledge. GoFundMe takes too long time. Let's just do a Venmo donation. workout setup or something.
Well,
Um,
we haven't even announced the matches that's going to
oh,
take place that night, and it's and I think that's going to be, we there's going to be a title match, we know, but the stipulation of that title match has not been announced, and it will be here shortly. But so I mean, there's still a lot that we got to add, and there some of the news media have agreed to start advertising it as we get closer. So I think that's going to help. I mean, the tickets have been going good. The hotel said they've got people coming from Canada, California, Indianapolis. It's made reservations, so it sounds like people are following it all over. I mean, I'll use Mac Davis's phrase that if you haven't heard about it, you must be living under a rock, because people's been sharing it. I know you guys have been doing a great job doing it, and so it's. I hope it comes together.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, everything is going to come together here with, with all these events. Once again, the ceremony is going to be, uh, before the show. Okay, like I said, everybody must know this. Like I said, if you haven't known before, you have to go to sicw.org to get all your tickets. Like I said, there's two separate events: one for the Fan Fest, and then there's one for the ceremony and the wrestling show. But of course, there's a package deal to get both at the same time. So I'm going to urge, get the package so you're not questioning yourself one way or the other, or if you know that you're going to be gone by one time or another, then do one or the other. But I would encourage, like I said, just get both.
Well,
Um,
and the thing is if you buy your tickets now and you don't wait until the door, you'll be on the master sheet, and when you get there that morning, the doors will open at 10, and you'll be able to give your name and get your wristband, because that's how you're going to be able to get into the ballroom where the legends will be set up. The vendors will all be out in the main hallway, and but if we get a good crowd, you don't want to be standing in line. So if you buy your tickets early, then you'll be able to get in there and get going real quickly. I will tell you that there's one of the legends that is applying for his Missouri license that is begging me to be a part of the Bruiser Brody Battle Royal.
wow. Okay.
So
We'll just
your
leave it at,
fans
leave it
are
at that.
your fans are following, can kind of guess and see which one that is.
Yep. And if not, they'll just have to wait till it's ready to be announced. That's all it is.
So
Like
we talking past or kind of present?
We're talking about they're on the poster.
Oh,
there you go. So I don't know. You can throw your guesses with that. So that'll be pretty cool. And like I said, I'm hoping that we gather a lot of like I said, we're going to be promoting this in the weeks to come.
Well, and we really and I appreciate you guys. You were one of the first vendors out there that jumped right on and Rick you and said, hey, how do we go about being a part of it? And and that's the other thing. I mean, we've been very easy on the vendors, because we want them to come, and if they're selling their gimmicks or whatever, we want them to be able to make money, and then plus get some connections with these guys. So, but you were one of the first ones that called, and I think we're up to about 18 vendors right now is the last I counted.
Oh, well, that's excellent news to hear. Like I said, we definitely are. Well, I mean, we're going to have a busy day, and we can't wait to interact with everybody that comes through that door. We want to, and we want
the main one you got to interject with is Barbara.
Yes.
Okay. We can do that.
Yes, absolutely. We'll definitely. We're going to work on something where we want to try and pull maybe a guest or a legend off to the side, maybe kind of get their take on the entire day, maybe ask some more questions, anything that you're pushing for that, for that day. And like I said, no, Barbara, you're going to be there. Is there anything that the fans can expect where you're on your appearance on May 13th? I mean, I know you're going to be presenting the Sam Munchnick Award to Darla. I know that. But as far as with your table or everything else, I mean, do you have any type of product you're bringing in, or I mean, maybe is there any type of book? I mean, are you bringing anything with you to the event?
Yeah, I'll probably bring a few books in that, and if I find anything else, I got a couple of other items in that. It'll only be small, but I will bring a couple of items. And as I said, just let me know. Just come up and talk to me, or even just send me a message on Facebook that you're coming. Because then, as I said, I'd love to meet you all. I'd love to meet you too. And I just think it's just going to be an incredible day. And if you ever have any stories, if anybody has any stories, because sometimes people have stories. One of the best stories is some of these young fans that come. They will remember seeing Frank, like you said. You remembered when you went to the store when you met him. They remember like going through an airport or anything, and they were only really young kids at the time. And they said they remember seeing this monster of a man, and they'd be kind of really a little scared, and they'd kind of be behind their parents looking at this huge big monster. And if he saw them, he would come over and he would kind of, bend down and talk to them. And they said these are memories that they remember today. And it made them, and I've said this before here, that, you can't judge a book by its cover. That's one of the things that they remember, because he just looked so fierce when he was in his Bruiser Brody mode. But then when he sat down and talked to them, he used the soft, the very soft voice and that. So, yes, if he saw that, he liked to, you know, respond to the children when he saw the children in that, because he knows that he was a kind of a little fearsome looking creature. And when you said that story, when you told me that story too, about meeting him, it reminded me of what other people had told me. So he did leave a lasting impression, which is, as I've said, 35 years later, we're talking about a Bruiser Brody memorial show that happens. So I am just honored that he's still remembered, and everybody out there, please come. The 13th of May, it's going to be the most incredible event that you can go to. I'll be there. I shall see you. Send me a message on Facebook. Love to meet you, especially if you're going to be coming. Love to hear from you. And Herb, you have anything to say?
I love you.
Yeah.
No, and again, I just appreciate you guys, and as I think we showed before, we could sit here and talk for hours and hours about the passion and the love we have for this business, and I just hope that this event shows the fans, and I don't care what organization they follow or what organization they're a part of. I've had a couple of the other promoters that I talk with all the time say, this is for everybody. I don't care where you're at. When you've got promoters calling you from Arkansas, Tennessee, and Iowa, and places like that are saying, "Hey, we're coming." I think they realize that this is for everybody. That everybody can benefit from this, and they can come and make some connections. They may be able to, get a couple of these legends booked to come to some of their shows, and so if they don't and take advantage of it, it's just shame on them.
I know, like I said, this is a once in a lifetime deal, and like I said, it's going to be rapidly approaching close with every week that goes by. I mean, it's
just keep reminding me. Keep reminding me, Rick, so I can get more nervous.
Yeah, and I'm also reminding the fans as well, because it's like if you've not gotten your tickets, you need to get those tickets. SICW.org is the website that you need to go. Find and get those tickets. 40 legends and stars guests that are going to be there. I mean, including, for the FanFest, Gerald Briscoe and JJ Dillon getting inducted into the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame. 2 legends in that sport alone. I'm excited for that, and I'm sure to not guaranteed to not disappoint a wrestling show that will leave a lasting impression to finish out the night. So you've got to be there for all of it.
Right. And if you don't mind, I need to just throw out another plug for the Shriners, because that's a big show next weekend, and and plus, SICW this is filling up this year quicker than I don't know what, but it starts there, and as we say in the business, it's one show at a time. But we've got these repeat places that we're going to. We're going to Sandoval Illinois. Our good friend Bill Henson helps put that together out there for us this year. We're going back to Centralia, Illinois. I hadn't been there in many, many years. We got a big show planned there. We're going to be going to Mascoutah, Illinois, Cahokia, Illinois, Fairmont City, Millstadt. Just stay tuned because the Facebook will be burned up with all of those shows that we're going to be going to. And we just love to have the fans. We're picking up more fans every day, it seems like. But the big granddaddy of them all is Saturday, May 13th, the day before Mother's Day. I may remind everybody.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be a busy weekend for me, and having a Mother's Day afterwards. I mean, we're all going to be just pray for strength, people, on the next day. Make sure you're taking care of your mothers the next day after the event. But also, like I said, this Saturday at the Iron Knight Shriners Temple, East St. Louis, at 609 St. Louis Avenue. Tickets are starting at $20, and just show up. You're sure to get there. Well, it's going to be a packed house, and especially with Mr. USA Tony Atlas showing up, and of course with the Ace Cowboy Bob Orton, and then those guys are going to be in action. I mean, come on, you got to find out what's going to be in store for them that night. So, absolutely,
I can tell you, they're going to be in that tag match against the LA Hustlers, and wouldn't it be nice that two WWE legends win the SICW tag team titles?
Oh my goodness! Hey, I've Bob still got it. I mean, he can throw a good fist when he wants to. He don't need a cast. He'll deck you right straight for those knuckles. Bob can still throw a good fist. Tony's a tough character. He's a tough individual. Those hustlers, they may joke about age and everything else, but experience sometimes overpowers. So that'll be an interesting match to see if the hustlers can overcome or will old school rule.
I just want to see Tony and Bob get a hold of Unlucky P. Larson.
Unlucky P.
Larson. If that's a subliminal message I'm sending.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he heard that he'd have a nice word or two for you, but so we're already getting the prediction from Jessica here. The LA Losers will be beat.
She pretty well knows. That's my event coordinator. Her and my sons, I tell you.
Right.
They grew up with the business, and Dad's taught them pretty well.
Right. Well, I definitely want to thank me and Zach here. Zach, I'm sure you're pretty stoked about having our guest here this week.
I just love sitting down with Herb. It was wonderful to meet you, Barbara, tonight. Herb's actually the reason I started digging into Brody's legacy. So I didn't get much of the old. I'm a newer breed kid. So I've always enjoyed old wrestling too. So going back and watching Brody and watching Stan, I'm pretty stuck on Stan Hansen right now. But really enjoyed watching all their guys' work and stuff because it makes me understand today's world too a little bit more.
But see, you got to think of this too, Miz. On May 13th, not only will you get to see Stan Hansen, you'll get to see Black Bart, and then you get to see the Big Texan in action.
Yes.
Now
and I get to meet potentially one of my favorite lariats in the business, JBL.
JBL, that's what I was just getting ready to say. You got 4 Texans that's, man, oh man.
I was thinking about that the other day. I was looking at it. I collect action figures, and there's been rumors of potentially a Brody one. Is that what I'm hearing? A Bruiser?
Show him, Barb.
Is that?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Ask and you shall receive.
But I was looking at a JBL figure the other day and was wanting to buy it and all, and it literally flashed through my mind like how JBL was my Stan Hansen or Bruiser Brody, like of those guys, the hard hitter, the knock, and the clothesline lariats, and so yeah, it's made me enjoy those guys even more, knowing where my love for the style came from.
Yeah, that's great. So you'll have a treat. Rick,
Oh,
you
man.
you may be having to man your table that day because I think the Miz.
I'm gonna be drooling. I'm gonna be fanning out. You're 100%.
Yeah. Well, the last show you came to up in Belleville, you had a good time with the legends that I had in there.
We had an awesome time, actually. It was wonderful. Ricky was really, really cool to my wife and kids. Yeah, Ricky Morton. Really, really cool to my wife and kids. And we sat and talked to them a good 45 minutes almost. Like, Sergeant Slaughter was awesome. It was really cool to meet the King. So, yeah, I'm pumped to do this. My son is potentially coming with us because he wants to meet Tugboat.
Good. Tugboat's good. Yeah, we've got, I was mentioning other shows. I've got Shawneetown, Illinois, we're going to be doing later on this year. And we've already got Tony Atlas will be going there. Jimmy Hart, the Mouth of the South, will be going there. And 2 or 3 other ones we're taking down there. So, we try to help. And, I know there's people out there say, well, why do you bring the legends in? Well, because if there were no legends, there would be no wrestling.
That's right.
We know, and those guys back in the day, and Barb can tell you, no 401ks, no investments other than what they did on their own, no insurance. So I've always said that if I can help give back to them, that's what we're going to do, and we're doing that.
And doing it the right way. So from the fan perspective, yes, I'm enjoying my time now in the business and learning the other side of it. But I still revert back to the kid. I'm still the fan, and you and I have talked about that many a time. But from the fan aspect, I thank you guys for continuing to do this stuff because I'm so happy that I'm bringing my own children up the same way. And we go back and watch old wrestling, new wrestling. My kids, we live and breathe this business, and it's something special.
Yeah.
And then there's something else that goes on is the Cauliflower Alley Club, which is a great organization. People join us a very small fee per year, and you get 4 magazines per year. And that's the one where Herb was talking about, that there's no 401s, there's no medical, there's no nothing. And when they do, some of the older wrestlers get into trouble, they can come to this organization and get a little bit of help. So it is a wonderful organization, and they have it August every year. Well, not every year. This year they're having it in August in Vegas, where they have. But yeah, the Cauliflower Alley Club, it does help people. So yeah, look it up on the website, and as I said, for a very small fee, you get to join, and you get 4 magazines a year. Tells you about the wrestling and everything.
Yeah,
Still need to do that.
yeah. And I think actually, boy, you talk about right on cue. I think I may have just gotten. Look at that! Look who's on the cover of this one.
Oh
Hey,
yeah.
it's the Nasty Boys. Who's going to be there May 13th? What do you know?
What do you know about that? So, and here's what I'm going to do since we're talking about that. And Barb and you and I'll talk off of air in a day or two about that CAC. But if any of your guests tonight can guess which legend is trying to get into the Battle Royal, Bruiser Brody Battle Royal, I'll buy him a year subscription to the Cauliflower Alley.
Hey.
Oh,
one guest per person.
Yeah, 1 guest per person.
Well, you heard it, viewers.
I was just saying because when you mentioned that, the chat was starting to light up with guesses. I mean,
oh really?
Yeah. We got Enzo. Let's see. Let's go back up here real quick.
Tyler's guess is Enzo. We've already seen that.
We got Enzo. We got JBL was a potential. We got Stan Hansen was a potential.
I do not. I want to. If I see his arm hook come running at me, I'm jumping over the top. I am not talking about to take that.
I can hear Rick. I can hear Rick saying now, "Bye, Felicia."
Right.
I think that's it. I think that's it. Let's see. Yeah, Tyler saying Enzo. I mean,
nope, none of them. So if you get any other guests, just pass them on to me, and I'll let you know if it's there or whatever. You call me off air, and I'll tell you who, and then you'll know.
Well, I could have also swore that someone.
Here it is. Yes, I thought there was Barry Watts is the other one. That's who I want.
Barry Horowitz.
Barry Horowitz.
Yeah, Horowitz. Watts. What am I sorry? Horowitz. That's who I want.
He'd be doing this too much. Patting himself.
One of
Great
my buddies
guy.
and I on We Talk Wrestling are huge fans of his. So.
Barry's a great guy. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing him again. And but yeah, if somebody can guess that, I'll buy him a year's worth of membership to the Cauliflower Alley.
All right. Well, so I guess those 4 guesses are not it, guys. And
Sorry.
yep. So I don't know. I'm almost included to guess as well, but of course I'm not going to guess. I'm going to think about it and keep my mouth shut.
It may be
And,
Barbara Goodish.
Whoop them all. I mean,
Go out and beat him. Go and beat him, Barb. Go and beat him.
Victoria could take out some of those men in that field. I'm just saying.
Yeah. She could tear it up. She could tear it up.
Yep.
But man, yeah. So, but definitely, this is worth it. I mean, I've already got the previous one, of course, had Matt out Jimmy Hart on it. No, he will not be in the battle royal. But I mean,
In the next few
days.
days, one of the Nasty Boys will be cutting a promo for the May 13th show. I just talked to him today.
Now those guys would be interesting to see together. I mean, after all these years, I mean, my gosh, those guys go way back. What AWA, WWF,
Yeah.
WCW.
I remember them irritating me as a kid.
Well, no, but you know, if you stop and think of the list of those that are coming in, the combination photos that you could get, you know, Jimmy Hart with the Nasty Boys, you know, Ted DiBiase and Virgil, you know, there's all kinds of combinations there.
It's one of the living legends to me right there. Ted DiBiase, not Virgil. Well, I mean, Virgil's cool.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah.
I don't have the money title for no reason. Like, he is
Yep.
the dude. The dude.
Yeah. Just talked to him the other day, and he, you know, and I got to tell you a quick story. And Ted is such a great guy. I mean, he actually called me and said, "Hey, how the heck are you having a show like this and not me? If there is no Ted DiBiase without St. Louis." And I thought that was a class act on his part. He never forgot where he's come from. You know, he said that there's no Ted DiBiase, there's no $1 Million Man, because St. Louis gave me my start.
One of my favorite things is getting his son's autograph at, what was it, 2017, I think it was.
Yeah.
Royal Rumble.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, down at the Ted DiBiase posse party.
There you go.
Great guy. I enjoy it. So I can't wait to meet his dad too. Like,
yeah, he'll be fun. You know, another quick story. I know you guys are wanting to get off of here, but like I said, we could talk all night. Barbara,
I could talk all night. It's Ruby and Barb.
But a couple of years ago, I had a show booked in St. Louis, and Ric Flair was booked on it. And of course, you know, 48 hours out, we get notified Ric's not going to make it. And even though I didn't have to, because my agreement was I was just bringing the show, and I'd hooked him up with Ric's people, but I felt bad because it was a good show. And I mean, they said, who can we get? I said, well, you got to bring somebody in that's going to mean something. And I ended up calling Ted, and him and I had discussed a month or two before about the possibility of what could happen. And he said, oh, I guess you want me to pinch it for Ric, huh? I said, yeah, I need you, man. And he got on the airplane, and he was here that night, and really blew the roof off the place. That's the kind of guy Ted DiBiase is.
Man, and what a class place I was with the Missouri Athletic
Oh
Club.
yeah, you were there.
I kicked it off, boy.
You were
about You talk about nostalgia with almost like a feeling of wrestling at the trace with all this cigar smoke starting to fill the room. Starting to fill the room. Thank God I was the first one because everybody had to work later. We had to deal with the thicker cloud of cigar smoke.
Miz, you haven't seen anything like that. These people were actually betting on the matches, and when I say betting, we're not talking about nickels and dimes. I mean, am I right, Rick? I mean, there were wads of money on these tables.
Right.
And then the second year I was there, I reversed the decision on a match. And, and I became real popular.
You got booed.
No, I became popular with
okay. I misheard.
Yeah.
Well, the one that Ruby was on, I was getting. This might be in trouble. I got some pictures, but they stayed with me. But like, I was jealous. I was sitting over here jealous because that's when I first came onto the group.
Yeah. Well, if we go back, I'll make sure you get there.
See, that's why I love you, my dude.
Yeah.
Well, Barb, I know you're getting tired. You got a very busy day tomorrow, so I really appreciate you taking time out tonight. And I told you these guys are a class act. So,
as I said, you know, I'll do anything for you, Herb, anything at all, and lovely to meet you two guys. And I know I'll see you in the 13th of May.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Good night, Barb.
Good night.
Love you. And to all your fans, and to all your followers, I mean, they're hanging in there with you guys. I mean, of course, I don't sleep, so it's okay with me.
I know. So I'll leave you guys talk for the next couple of hours.
Thanks, Barb.
Bye, Barbara. Good seeing you.
Good night.
How'd I put it?
Yeah. Now, what a class lady she is, I'll tell you.
She really is a queen.
She is. I mean,
Tyler's saying that somewhere in there earlier.
Yeah, when you get her and Darla and Pam together, I mean, they're great people. Yeah,
that's awesome. And like I said, this is going to be definitely another night, another great memory, just for St. Louis wrestling altogether. I mean, nothing that's associated with anything of like WWF or anything else like that. I have a good feeling this is going to pack it out, and I'm definitely hoping that a lot of the media gets the attention around here, that it gets the good word about this event, because this is one of a kind. This is extraordinary. This is something that you will never get again. Well, no. I mean, I'm sure this is the first. I mean, who knows? I mean, this may be an annual. I mean, could it be an annual thing? We just don't know. We have to see how it works out.
Yeah, and and again, you know, everybody says, "Well, how do you top something like this?" And you know, I get asked that a lot of times, like at the Missouri Athletic Club, or you know, these other shows that we're doing at the History Museum. The show we did there was another great venue. I mean, just the atmosphere of that. It's never been done there before, and here we get to do it. But so, you know, you can always try to top it, but sometimes you can't. But this is going to be a hard one to top, just because and if you look at the caliber of people that we brought the old, a couple of Enzo, you know, people like that. Of course, Jimmy Hart, who just turned 80 years old, still looks like he's 40. Hasn't changed a day at all. Still
helps out at every show.
Goes out, sets up chairs, and always
he was moving chairs that one show.
Yeah, he does. And then this on the 13th, he's actually we've got him in Arkansas the night before, so he won't be getting in until late or early in the morning. But we were able to get him a two gigger here, so. Which helps that promoter and helps me, you know, as far as splitting the expense, but he'll work his tail off, you know, and then, you know, guys like John Nard, the Barbarian, you know, I hadn't seen John for years, and then I saw him a year ago up in Waterloo, Iowa, and when I walked across the floor, I mean, he recognized me and said, "Hey," and he started talking about the show him and Brody had out on the track in the rain, and it's just amazing how these guys. Take all the bumps to the head, but they can still remember certain things, you know. And really great. And then you get guys like Jerry Briscoe, who just going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. His brother's already been in there, so but he's really excited. And then when he says, "Hey, what about JBL coming in?" Oh, no. Oh, yeah, right. Who's going to say JBL coming in? Come on. So, and then we got to spend time with JBL out in Vegas last year, and what a guy he is. But and then James Beard, one of the best referees ever in the business, and he's coming in, Brutus the Barber Beefcake. So it's got your flavor, whoever you like. The Brooklyn Brawler. I mean, who
that one makes me happy too.
Rick McCord. He was a gentleman, started off young out in the Kansas City area, and had a career for him. And he shows up in Vegas every year, and so he's coming in, and it's just good. Going to be a good time. And then then we added this last week Silas Mason from the NWA.
Yeah,
going to be on there, and a couple of them other people's called me. One guy was talking to Trevor about maybe bringing Trevor in, and so like I said, 3 or 4 more names. Got to cut it off somewhere, otherwise we're not going to have nothing but pictures on that poster.
I was going to say you're close to taking over the logo.
We got to make a bigger poster.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you have to start landscaping the poster instead of putting in the portrait mode. You got to put a landscape.
Exactly.
What I teased about a few weeks back. Kind of like with your 8th grade class poster. You all stand on the bleachers. Hopefully everybody gets their pizza. That's what it's like.
That'd be a great poster, actually.
Well, and I think you guys hit it on the head. This should be an event that you guys, because you're going to keep your show going for years and years, and this will be something you can sit back and say, "Hey, remember back in 2023 when Herb had this crazy idea and it turned out to." Hopefully, you guys can say it turned out to be a success. If it didn't, don't mention it anymore. Okay.
Oh, we're going to the top. We're going to the top.
Yeah. So
yeah, we're doing some work. We're trying to do what we can, and
well, we appreciate it. I tell you, and that's everybody that the other vendors, they've all called and said, hey, whatever we can do to help promote it. And I had another one call me today, and he's wanting to bring in a guy and is with his little gimmick table, and I said, hey, we'll make room. We're not going to turn anybody away unless the fire marshal comes over, and if that's the case, I'll take that kind of.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, but I think the fans, the feedback that we're getting from the social media, everybody just can't wait, and I think one of the reasons is we kept it pretty reasonable. I've had some of these vendors say, man, we went to one here and there, and it was this, it cost us 3 times as much to get in. And but our economy is not in the best of shape right now. And, I want everybody to come and get as many autographs as they can. And they've had time to save up for it. We've been promoting it now about the last 2 months. So, and we're still a couple of months away. That's the good thing.
Yeah. My hope is coming May 13th, and or at least kind of marketing here is that we are the official podcast of the SICW FanFest and St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there you go. Well, like I said, I know Teddy Long and Mac Davis is going to do their road show. I don't know what time they're going to do it, but it was just when you got guys calling and saying, hey, we want to be a part of this, that says something. And for the, a couple of the other promoters like New Breed Wrestling, they're the ones that's actually bringing in Barry Horowitz. So it benefits them, Scotty Z, good friend, good promoter, good friend. I've talked with ACW, Pat, he's been working on an idea of getting somebody to come in. In fact, he had 2 of them he's talked to me about. Troy Peterson up at Impact Wrestling, him and I talked this morning, and they're talking about a guy to bring in. And so that's why I said there's still 3-4 more names that could be added in there that will add to the list. And so In fact, I've had people saying, this ought to have been a 2-day event. And I said, hell no.
I was literally thinking of that while we were having this show. Is like, how is this not a 2-day event?
That's because I'm old. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Nick Rednard told me, he said, hey, Herbie said, I'm going to get us a suite upstairs to where we can take a break. I said, how the hell are we going to take a break? I'm telling you, before the doors open, you're going to be busy because I'm going to make sure you're busy because I want this thing to run as smooth as possible. That's one of the things I see people make mistakes. Things aren't organized right. Nobody knows where their table is. And, well, I don't want my table here. Well, sorry, wherever your name is on that table is where it's going to be at. We'll have a little map drawn up that people can, if they want to go see where your table is or where Jimmy Hart's table is going to be in the ballroom or wherever, they'll know where to go to.
Yeah.
At least that's the plans.
That sounds good.
That sounds good, man. And like I said, I'm stoked for it too. And I'm sure maybe you've heard on here earlier too, Herb, and I just wanted to get this out here real quick for those, because we're actually going to have a test. We're using this as a test run going down to West Plains, Missouri for OzCon's gaming convention.
Yep,
and,
I saw you advertise that last week. Yes.
Yep. So we will be down there April 29th, thanks to the gracious invitation of Scott Shipley and the Heart of the Ozarks Wrestling League. We'll be down there from 1 to 5, hopefully to talk with some of the other stars that are going to be down there, and also, like I said, Zach will tell you that there's so many that you pick out from these gaming conventions that will be wrestling fans. So.
The majority, yeah. I mean, nerds wear all shapes and sizes. Like
sure.
we all flow together. I mean, my friends and I, for the longest time, with like John Cena, we used to. There's a cartoon or anime in the Japanese culture, call it. It's called Dragon Ball Z. We always made fun of John Cena because sometimes when he would do his like thing where Hulk Hogan was hulking up and doing his thing, it would remind us nerds of this cartoon. So we made fun of him about it, and that's where some of the memes came from. You saw him with like the glowing like spiked hair and stuff. Like that's all that. That's Dragon Ball Z. It's just so fluid how wrestling and pop culture, from music, movies, cartoons, and it just all flows together. Like it's a beautiful thing.
Well, and here's an idea, and I don't know if you guys, if you're interested, I'll get you some flyers made up, and you can take them along with you for the May 13th. Lay them on your table.
Bring him on over.
Yeah.
He doesn't even need to speak. I got this, Herb. Let's go.
Well, and Scott Shipley, I first met Scott. He came to one of our matches and one of our actually training seminars that we had. And then he's been to several of our matches, and him and I talk all the time. And, he's trying to get something set up down there, and he picks my brain all the time. And what's left of it, as I tell him. But I knew he was, he's got a couple of other guys coming down there that day. I think Attila Khan is coming down there. It's going to be there at that same show. So depending on what my schedule is, if I can get away, I might make the trip down there too.
Nice.
That'd be great. Like you said, we'll be more than happy.
Yeah.
Pass them along. We'll probably, like you said, advertising for this. And, you never know. People will make the trip coming up from West Plains, Missouri. They'll make that 3.5-hour trip for this extravaganza. Heck, like I said, didn't Barbara say she's got people from Canada, or somebody's coming from Canada?
Yeah. Actually, the Hart family, Ross Hart.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
great friend of ours. He's got his rooms booked, and Bob Johnson, and then a Canadian actor, film writer, Lynn Phillips is coming.
Wow.
So, like I said, it's an all-star card coming from Canada, and there's always a good contingency from Canada to attend the Cauliflower Alley, and they're all part of this, the Hart family. And but I'm really looking forward. I was glad when Ross called and said he was able to adjust his schedule to come in, because he's such a great guy. Texan and Bobby got to spend time with him out in Vegas last year for hours, sitting at the bar talking with him. And one of the first family of professional wrestling. Stu Hart trained a lot of guys in this business and in the dungeon, and so it's always good to hear the boys' stories from that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's the best opportunity and times to have it. So
Yeah, well, you want to make sure when you get there and see Ross, you can talk to him, and it's this big family, and like I said, so yeah, there's in the hotels told me they've got reservations from people from California, Indianapolis, so it's they seem to be happy. So I'm assuming that the hotel rooms are going pretty good for them. So anything we've been able to go there and ask for, they've accommodated us. So it's kind of one of those scary things that things seem to be going real smooth, and I'm waiting for the bottom to fall out.
No, that's gonna be a great thing for the wrestling community in this area. Like, look, prop it up. I mean, you guys got friends from Canada coming down. That's cooler than my buddy that's gonna ride with me down from Iowa.
Yeah, there you go. But like I said, I know Troy Peterson from Impact Wrestling. I talked to him today. He's got a good group coming down. They've already got their rooms booked, and it's one of those days that I'm gonna like, but I like to be able to talk to my friends, and I think it's gonna be one of those days where you're gonna be running back and forth. I ain't gonna be able to do a lot of that, but that's why when Nick said, he said, I got us a room upstairs, and I said, okay, well, I can see that won't get used much, because I'm the type of guy that I will be nervous until we close that night, because I want everything to go. Well, I am, Rick, at the shows. I mean, the fans come, they expect to see a good show, and I know how some fans may get, and if the lines are too long, but again, they have to understand that if we get a big crowd there, that they may, if this guy may be busy, and walk on down and get somebody else and come back, but it'd be fun.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun for this FanFest. And like I said, don't forget about this coming Saturday at the Iron Shriners Temple.
That's an important one. That's because I know that money all goes for a good cause, and
absolutely. And
the Shriners and I know a lot of Shriners that belong to that organization, and they're out promoting it as hard as they can, and I just hope that the fans will come out and support them, and we got a good card lined up for them, and that anytime you can help an organization like that, I think that's what we need to do. These guys want to give back, and that's what I like about some of our younger guys now too. They'll jump right in and say, hey, let's do it. You know what? We're doing one on June 3rd. There was a police officer that got shot over here, in fact, in the neighboring community of ours in Dupo, Illinois, back on February the 26th. And we're doing a fundraiser for him at the fairgrounds. And we did one for the fire chief who got diagnosed last year, who ended up just passing away just this last week. But he got to live an extra year, and we raised him just under $40,000 in that show, and so we're going to try to help this police officer's family out, because he's got a long journey to go with some physical therapy and a couple more surgeries, and so that's what we do, and I take my hat off to the locker room, because those guys step up to the plate and say, hey, we're here, whatever you need.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, I've got nothing but good things to say about the locker room at SICW, because I've been back there, so nothing but positivity.
It's good, and again, and I take full blame, because it's 2023, and I've been doing it 50 years, and maybe I haven't adapted to all the new ways of the new wrestling, and that's just my fault. I shouldn't say fault. That's just I'm old school through and through. Just like people are into modern stuff, day stuff, and that's fine and dandy. It's not right and it's not wrong. But what's wrong is when people try to change that. My fans will tell me if they're tired of the old school wrestling, and that's when I start having 30 30, 40, 50 fans in front of an audience, I'm not going to have my guys go out there. I had that experience back at Rolla, Missouri, with less than 20 people sitting there, and I have never had that again. And if I ever have that again, that's when I know it's over. It's time to go. It's the people have said, they speak for you. It's
Right.
like when people ask me, well, how comes you've been the mayor so long? Don't you believe in term limits? I said, I have term limits every 4 years. The voters have a right to vote me out of office every 4 years. That's the term limits. If they choose to keep me in there, and that's their decision. That's
Right.
the same way with wrestling. If they quit coming, then I know it's time to go.
Right.
Amen.
Amen. Oh man. Well, like I said, I'm very excited, and with this coming up, like I said, definitely a milestone. Reaching that golden level of an anniversary, being in the business for 50 years. It's something to say. I mean, something to be proud. I'm sorry, it's something to be proud of, to be at this as long as you have, and doing for being successful for as long as you have. Bringing in the names for over the course of the years, and you're still continuing to uh, to make a name for SICW with all this going on. So, um, if I haven't formally said it, but I want to congratulate you on doing that. Um, and like I said, it just where 2023 goes from here after May 13th. You know, I definitely wish you all the best. Um, and as far as success, and I mean, where we're like I said, we're happy to have you on here. I know this is probably like the fourth time on here, but you know what? We've had a purpose every time
Mm-hmm.
because then we've addressed a lot of different things every time. So it's not like just like it's not a rerun, people. We've this
Yeah.
man's got a lot this man's got a lot to offer, and we've got a lot to we got a lot of brain picking to do. That's what me and Zach do. Is we
Have we broke the record yet?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't remember what it is.
I don't know either.
I think you had it anyway, didn't you? I think you
No.
had it.
No, somebody else I thought after I did.
Didn't Static take it?
Oh, you know what? I think Static
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah. And I don't remember what his time was. We'll
Yeah.
have to get back to you.
I think it was like
No, I'm
3.
No,
Yeah.
and it's good to talk with guys who know the business. I've had some podcasts when guys that just didn't have it together, and that's not their fault. It's just they hadn't done their research, and they're wanting to learn, and I do them because that's just the kind of guy I am, because I love talking about the business. But it's always better when I got guys that know it. And Rick, just to follow up on what you just said, same thing as Ted said about there would be no Ted DiBiase without St. Louis wrestling, Sam Muchnick and Larry Matisek. That's the same way with me. There'd be no Herb Simmons and SICW if it wasn't for the workers. I've always said it's like baking that cake. If you don't have all the ingredients, it's not going to come out right. You got to have good fans. You got to have good talent. And if you don't, you're going to have a bad cake. And without guys like you and and I can sit here and name a bunch of them, Texan, Gary Jackson, Attila, and even the younger guys that are coming up, the Jake Praters and Brandon Berettas, and the future of our business. If it wouldn't be for guys like that, then there is none of these companies with these 3 and 4 letters out there that represents the business, and I think that's what we have to remember. Promoters nowadays, I think there's some of them that are finding out it's not as easy as they think it is, if they're going to do it the right way. There's some out there that think they are, but again, those are the ones that will tell by the crowds that they draw.
I agree with
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. Wholeheartedly with that.
Yeah.
But
Appreciate you guys having us on, and I know Barb enjoyed it, and I will talk to her tomorrow, and I know she'll tell me she loved it. That's just how she is, and she always makes herself available for me, and she'll be looking forward to seeing you guys on May 13th.
See, I just like having you here because I keep learning stuff. So, like, as much as I get to bring to the table or ask the question, Ruby does give me some of them that I have to ask. Like, but like I get to rephrase them in my ways and stuff. I just learned so much more about wrestling from you, and it makes me happy to be where I am. So I appreciate you.
Yeah. And again, and you can tell from your questions and your thought process, you want to learn. You're not phony about it. When you say you're new to the game, you are, but you can tell you do your research. And like I said, it's kind of like when I have somebody call me that want to come to work for me. I know within the first 5 minutes if they're legit or what. Um, when somebody tells me they've been in the business 19 years, I can find out in 5 minutes if you've been in the business 19 years. And I'm the type that calls your hand on it. Don't try to BS me, because this wrestling is a BS business. Back in the day it was, and but nowadays, just be honest with the promoter. Send me some tapes, send me some pictures, and send me a video. And I don't mean one of you doing a 30-second spot, because I can edit a 30-second spot and make me look good. But I had 2 guys sent me stuff today, and I mean, since this thing, when I say literally, I can show you messages I'm getting from all over the country. People want to come in and be a part. If I put everybody in that battle royal that wants to be in it, it'd be 100 people. I mean, they're coming out of the woodwork, and and like I said, it's I want the guys that's been taking care of us all the time. And if I need extra guys, I can reach out. Jason Jones got guys for me, Scotty Z, Pat, Troy Peterson. I can get guys from all over, and but I want to take care of my guys that take care of me all year round too.
Oh, absolutely. That's understandable. Uh,
Yeah.
like I said, that's I'm really looking forward to being in that battle royal whenever or
Yep.
however I get in it. I mean, it's gonna be fun with all these names coming down from different areas, and it's
It's good to see people. It's good to see somebody. One of the first guys I put in there is, in fact, the first guy from Texas, Scott Shipley, called me about him and asked me if I'd let him be a part of the battle royal. And he sent me a video, and he's a big Bruiser Brody fanatic. He's done a lot of research on Brody, and so yeah, I'm bringing him up to let him be in that battle royal, the Red River Brawler.
Oh yeah, I saw that name.
Yeah. So he, he'll be another little flavor for it. And like I said, we'll get him, and we may have a few extra matches that night because I want to try to accommodate everybody. But again, we'll watch the crowd and see if they. I don't think they'll be bored. I really don't.
Red River Brawler. That's almost a shade close to another Red River guy that hung around the Sportatorium in the 80s.
Yeah.
So.
Red River Jack.
Yep.
Know the whole story behind that one too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love watching Old World Class. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can pull that off.
I remember when they had the basically a decision to be made on who was going to be the Red River Jack when Brody was in the ring, because you had to have that. Of course, we did the same thing here at SICW. If you remember correctly, I had a Red River Jack too, and people thought it was Ron Powers until all of a sudden Ron Powers shows up against Red River Jack.
Right.
That kind of blew a hole in their sail. So, but and that's the art of what we're doing now is things that were done 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's just that people weren't around or they forgot about them.
Recycled.
Yeah, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan told me that. I was taking him back to the hotel one night, and he said, Herb, what you're doing is just repeating history over. And he said, I saw it tonight. He said, you are taking old and just recycling it into the current, and it works. And I tell people all the time, wrestling hasn't changed. The headlock back in 1930 and 40s and 50s all the way up is a headlock. An arm drag is an arm drag. What's changed in the business these days is people's egos. They don't check them at the door.
That's people in life, period, though. But
Yeah,
I
you're right.
agree. I agree.
You're right.
I miss, like, so my kids and I play 2K22, right? WWE and stuff, and there's different suplexes and whatnot. And that's something that I do is I watch, like, how from one person to the next, like, the suplex is different. And how cool it is that there's, the suplex is still the suplex, but, like, there's so many variations of that one move and how they approach it, how they get into it, how they lock up, how they drop it, DDTs, etc. And that's the art of wrestling.
Yeah. So have you ever gave any thought about when you're watching that progress? I bet you if you look at the statistics, there's more injuries as that progression got to the current than there was back in the older days.
Oh, I guarantee there potentially is there. Yeah,
because
100%.
Back in the day, guys took care of one another, and now it's kind of like I got to get my high flying in. I got to get my 5 minutes of fame in. So however fast I got to do it, I got to do it, because if I don't, one of two things are going to happen. The fans are going to start hollering, boring, boring. Right. Yeah, and you've heard that before, and so you've got to, and they don't have to. I tell everybody, go watch a Pat O'Connor and a Lou Thez match. They don't even hit the ropes, and they will entertain you for an hour Broadway if you want them to, and the crowd will be on the edge of their seats. But that's just the difference, like you said, in our society. They're into all of that stuff now, and I can't get into it. And I'm glad that there are fans that are out there into it, but at SICW, we're going to keep it old school.
Love it. Keep it up.
Yeah. Okay, gentlemen, I think we've been on here for about an hour or so.
Yeah, we have. No, but I appreciate you taking all the time to kind of reflect on what's coming up, and once again, I'm just excited for all what's coming up here with SICW for this coming Saturday, what you got going on at the Belle Claire Fairgrounds. Definitely coming up with big FanFest and a Hall of Fame ceremony, and show everything on May 13th. Just everything you got coming up. So definitely excited for you here, and we're hoping to, like I said, we're going to be promoting it more, and we're hoping to get some more of the guest or legends here on a weekly basis. I mean, we're working on it, and I'm hoping to. I've got a wish list. We'll see how well it's going to come true. I just got to work at it. So
yeah, the TV little thing we're doing, the tapings go good. You've been over there, Rick, and participating in that, and every Sunday night we're getting more and more people joining in on that, and it's fun doing that, putting it together, seeing that finished product. And we're not trying to compete with any of the bigger companies, or we're just having fun with doing it and trying to give the guys some exposure, and it's working, because like I said, I'm getting calls from promoters all over wanting to know about this worker or that worker. What would he cost to come here and do that? So it's paying off that way. Getting the guys a little bit more that way there when they get in the car and make a road trip. It's worth it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And don't forget about SICW All Star Wrestling, 8 p.m. Central every Sunday. You can view on Facebook with SICW Wrestling Explosion, or on YouTube with SICW Wrestling, or even on Roku. Roku is still airing your shows, correct?
Yeah, they're having little platform problems. They're telling me. My people have been trying to work with them on that. They're talking about they may have to rewrite the script or something. So, that's all foreign to me. I leave that all to the experts. But they said something about the script may have to be rewritten. But right now, YouTube is and Facebook is the best way to do it. And then we're on the Intrigue Paranormal TV in St. Louis.
Absolutely. like I said, I appreciate you taking all the time
No
out here,
problem.
Herb. And like I said, definitely we'll be talking on the road. Who knows?
Yep.
Maybe if I got nothing going on Saturday, I'll find a way to get down there and just kind of see what
come on.
everything's down at the Shriners. See what's
Yeah, it'd be
going on
fun.
there.
We have to get Miz down this way. I know he's up there in God's country.
It takes a little bit. I'll be down. I don't know in the next time. Oh no, I do know the next time we're going to be down that way is for AEW. Actually, the wife surprised me with tickets. I
There
didn't
you
even
go.
realize was going to happen. So
Well, that's a good thing.
So we're going to Dynamite. But yeah, we'll have to come back down again for sure.
Yeah, I know. If not, well, you'll be there on May 13th. You better.
Oh no, 100%, 100%, sir. Reporting for duty. Whatever you need, I'll take care of. I'll get you coffee, whatever. No.
Okay. Well, normally I like to say good night, but I guess that's good morning. So.
Right.
It is. It
is. Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Herb. Have a good one, sir.
Take care.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, hey, that was quite a bit. Not quite the record, but it's good enough. And like I said, we've got a lot of things going on, coming up. So next week, I want to remind everybody we're going to be welcoming some of the other co-hosts for next week's show. We're actually welcoming in a couple guys from the Wrestle Talk podcast next week because we're going to be on the eve of WrestleMania.
Wait,
so that
Danny
means
Garcia.
WrestleMania Trivia Showdown. That's right. It's Falls Count Everywhere versus Wrestle Talk podcast, everybody. And just don't let me down.
I will do my best, sir. I will do my best.
I will be hosting for the festivities. I'm working on how we're going to get all the questions to display. But yes, between GQ, we'll be coming back next week to help you out, man. We're going to have teams of 2 take on each other. So
let's hope GQ can help me.
Yeah.
Especially the older stuff.
Yeah. Well, trust me, it'll be a mix of stuff. It's going to be all WrestleMania trivia. And I'm trying to find out, should we put a stake on that with them?
I don't know, man. I'm going to go upstairs. I got all of WrestleMania up to like whatever the last box set WWE made in the DVD collection. I have all of them. I'm going to be watching them. I know I can watch Peacock, but Peacock sucks. I can't fast forward to what I want. I'm being honest, man.
This ain't working, Peacock.
But no, I will be doing I'm gonna be studying this week, getting good. Hopefully, I got a lot of WrestleMania to watch.
There you go. And hopefully, maybe I don't know. Will it be the Night Owl? Will it be Luke Skywalker Roberts? Will it be Jeremy Carp? I mean, you never know what the combination of 2 guys are going to come on and take the challenge. And who knows? We may be even throwing out a wager that we may have to buy Wrestle Talk podcast mugs to get engraved and drink and display on our show for about a month. Or,
you know what? That's what it should be. I'm in with that one.
Or if we win, it's going to be those guys have to buy a Falls Count Everywhere podcast shirt, and they have to wear it for a month for every episode on the show.
I will gladly if I have to, but they're going to be on our shirts. That's how it's going to be. I like that one. I like that. That's good.
Oh my goodness! But make sure you tune in next week. We'll definitely be announcing when we know more about it, and we'll talk a little WrestleMania with the as far as upcoming with WrestleMania 39, WrestleMania going Hollywood. We'll talk a little bit about that, and also just so you know, and I forgot to tell you, Z, my Saturday night, April 1st, possibility of being booked has freed up. So I will be watching WrestleMania Live Sunday. So should we or should we not be going on live after both nights? So who knows? I don't know. We'll talk more about it.
We'll
we'll
talk,
talk
more
more
about it.
about it. You know, but we appreciate all of you.
I'm always open to talk wrestling. So
Yeah,
like,
sure. I mean, we're get hyped up. Come on live Saturday night. Just shoot it. Hey, WrestleMania night 1 recap, night 2 recap. Hey, we'll see what we can do here for you. So I think it's going to call it here for us tonight, guys. We thank you very much for joining us once again. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Like and subscribe all of our pages, guys. And we appreciate and love every one of you. So for the Gem City Mountain Zmiz, I am Rough Cut Rick Ruby. Thank you very much for joining us. And we will see you next week for the Trivia Showdown. Have a good night, guys, and a good rest of your week. Thanks again for tuning in to tonight's episode of the Falls Count Everywhere podcast. Don't forget our friends at the following: Outside the Ring STL, the Searcher and Hide podcast, and We Talk Wrestling. The Falls Count Everywhere podcast is an LTS Enterprises production.